We are live. Hello and welcome everyone to day 3 of our 5-day Blue Talks Amplify Your Message event. No, I am not solo today. I do have a co-host, but as you know, tech issues happen, life issues happen, and so we go with it as best as we can in the moment. And we hope that you do the same. So we have had 2 full days of conversations with a lot of some of our favorite entrepreneurs. Some of them are new, some of them have been in business for a while. But what we really want to know is, what is their message? Who are they as a human being? And how can we understand them a little bit better so that when they do share their message and the work that they do, it tends to stick and we tend to relate. And even if it's not for us, maybe we know somebody. Maybe we hear of opportunities coming up and they would be the perfect fit for these things. That is why we connect. It's not all about find my clients, find my clients, find my clients. No, good networking and lovely heart-centered entrepreneurs know that business is about relationships. And it's not just for us. We give just as much as we receive. Sometimes receiving can be a little difficult for some of us, but we do our best. Brad, I'm going to ask that whenever you do have things figured out, just give me a thumbs up and then I'll bring you. Oh, you're good? Okay. So I'm going to introduce my co-host for the day. If you joined us at the last Blue Talk Experts Boot Camp, we switched it from the Speakers Boot Camp because we do more than just speaking. We also do podcasting. We also do writing. We also do so much more. Well, Brad was one of our guests at the last Experts Boot Camp to be a podcast expert. And we had a lovely time having people pitch you for your top podcast, one of the top podcasts. So tell us just a quick bit about you, and then we'll bring on our guest.
Yes, I am so honored, first of all, to be here with you, Laura, and co-host this session with you. I've been looking forward to this, so I'm sure it will be a blast. It's always a pleasure chatting with you and speaking with others. My name is Brad Walsh. I am the host of the Empowerography podcast. I'm based here in Toronto, Canada. Empowerography was a platform created and built to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. And it's just an honor to be part of the whole Blue Talks community. I love it. Everything about it is just incredible. It's a beautiful community to be part of. And I'm just grateful and happy to be here with you, Laura.
Awesome. I want to know about the co-hosts as well as me, as well as our guests, because it gives us a little bit of context of where your questions are coming from so that we understand you, Brad, just as much as we understand the people that we're interviewing. So our first guest has been a friend of mine since, elementary school.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Like, I loved her. We disconnected for a little while because, of course, life happens.
Yeah.
Then you watch their work. You watch them grow as a human being. And then they become an entrepreneur. And you're like, yes! I've been waiting for this for so many years. So yes. I will say that she's brand new to running her own business, but she's certainly not brand new in the work that she does.
Beautiful.
So April, I'm going to bring you up to stage. And we're going to have extra fun today because I do want to highlight that you're not a professional speaker. You were starting to do podcasting things and interviews, but that's not something that you're used to. And so I want to show the other side. We have a lot of professional speakers here, a lot of people who do podcasts, but just because you don't do it yet doesn't mean that you'll never do it. I mean, you're here.
I'm here. Yay.
Welcome, April.
Yesterday I was actually doing an interview with CBC for Dartmouth Comics and Art Festival. So I'm a little warmed up.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. I know. And then she was doing a presentation at the local art college. What was it, like 3 weeks ago?
Probably a month ago for NASCAD and the illustration program.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. Weird and interesting. I'm like, I've always wanted to do this. And it's like, here, just a bunch of crap has happened.
Yeah. Well, you're stepping into it. You're stepping into it. That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. Those are, the CBC, that's huge.
Yeah. So
wow.
It's going to be Friday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And it's like a 7-minute segment, but still, that's pretty exciting that I was
That
asked
is
to be a part of
very
that.
exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. You should be very proud. Sorry, Laura.
Yeah.
No. I want you to kind of interrupt because I can easily take over the questions because I'm so curious. April, I do want to ask just a little bit because, Brad, I think this is kind of a bit of the direction where Blue Talks is taking for the Experts Academy, is we do want to mention some of the media.
Yeah.
So I want to ask right now, before we get into our typical questions, because I'm so curious, how did you get that?
So the lady that interviewed me and two other people who are selling at DCAF reached out because she wanted an assortment of different people selling at the event. And because I'm an illustrator, not necessarily a comic book artist, but I've been in the community for so long. So she reached out and I was like, yeah.
Yes, say yes to everything.
Why not? So, yeah.
What were you going to ask?
I was going to ask about that, but also how did the talk at the college come about for you?
I've known the instructor there for years. We connected through Twitter once upon a time at tweet ups when they were a thing in the city here.
Yes, I forgot
many years ago.
Yeah.
And we just kind of stayed connected. And then I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, I need a mentor of some sort. And just and then things got rolling. And he's like, hey, we talk to professionals and all that stuff. Do you want to answer some questions for the students? And I said yes. And yeah, it just kind of snowballed and just
I love that. Goodness. I love it. That's incredible. So how does that feel for you, stepping into that space of speaking publicly and sharing what you're doing?
At first I had a lot of imposter syndrome, and especially since I feel like I'm not a very good speaker, as in like I mumble a lot and whatnot. And so I was like, I'm not going to be good at this. But now that I've done it a few times, it feels really, really good. And yeah, I've been enjoying it.
Excellent. I find that there's a big difference between being asked to do a speech and being asked to talk. Because I feel like talking is more conversational. It's more personal. It's hi.
There goes my husband. It's like, I'm out.
It's all good. It's all good. As we were saying, like, shit happens. We just go with the flow.
Yeah.
I don't even remember where I was going with this.
Speeches and talks are different.
Yes. Okay. So I remember. Do you remember being in French class? Because this is fun. Because we met.
I love this. Younger. This is awesome.
So high school, right? Were you ever in French class? Did you? You didn't do extended core?
No, I didn't. I wasn't interested in that.
Yeah, I know. You were like, art class, yay!
Yeah.
But I remember having to do talks in English class, and I remember having to do a talk in French class where we could talk about anything that we wanted. And you remember seeing me on stage. I loved being on stage, but as soon as we had to do a talk, like a podium, cards kind of speech in front of the class, I don't know of any of us that did really well.
Yeah. Two very different things. Like
very different. But that French project where we could talk about anything that we wanted, that felt different. And that was the first time that I realized that once I stopped speaking from here and all of the logic and the memorization that comes with high school, and I started to talk about my passions and the things that I liked and who I was as a person, oh my God, how much easier it became.
Everything shifted. I can remember being in elementary school and having to give speech. I was scared shitless of standing up and giving speeches in class. I can even remember not showing up, like playing hooky, pretending I was sick so I didn't have to go in as a kid. So I was so scared of standing up in front of the class and having to speak and give that speech. As you say, the difference between speech and talking, I was horrified.
So then how are you feeling now with some of these interviews where it does look different?
Me or April?
Well, both, I guess. Sure. Let's
go ahead, April.
Start with April and then we'll go.
This is you. Brad. This is all you.
I don't, it's a lot different. It's less stressful.
Good to know.
Because like in school, I would always choose like a creative project over a speech project.
Yeah.
Because I was nervous to talk in front of people and memorizing things. But doing this whole just talking about what I know and what I like is much easier. So, and I don't feel that pressure this way.
Aww.
Yeah.
Are you getting more comfortable standing up in front of people then? Is this
Um,
like you say, speaking about things that you love and you're passionate about? I mean, I would think that for me anyways, I know it makes it a lot easier and more comfortable. So is that what you're finding for yourself as well?
yeah. And so far, everything has been on the computer. So it's a lot easier than to stand in front of people. But that'll hopefully come soon too, to
Yeah.
do in-person stuff.
Laura, would you agree with that? Do you think you've done both? So how does it feel for you, one versus the other? I'm very curious because I'm of the same ilk as April. I've done tons of virtual talking, but the last time I think I got up and actually spoke in front of people was at my brother's wedding. I was the best man. And I was scared shitless then too. So
Really?
yes.
Okay,
So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
April knows me very, very well. I've been on the stage since I was 4. So being on a stage does not bother me. It was really the memorization that bothered me.
Okay.
So the last time I spoke on a live in-person stage was actually at Harvard just over a year ago. It was July of last year. And of course, the camera was slightly out of focus because I asked a question and somebody raised their hand. So it focused to their hand.
Yeah.
But I love being in person because then I get to actually see your face. I get to see your whole body react to the words that I'm saying. I get to see the sparkle in your eye. I get to watch your jaw drop and you go, oh yeah. And then you can feel the energy of the room. Because when I do a talk, I don't write a speech. I don't do any of that. I go, what is the main intention for my talk? Which we went over when we had a meeting at April's house. And then what are the key points that I want to talk about and the stories related to that? Boom, I'm done. And then the rest, you feel the audience. You take it where they need to go. But that's my approach. That is not everybody's approach.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure April would not feel comfortable doing that. But I love it. I love that you're starting. And I love that this is new to you. And I love that we get to watch you grow at the same time, April.
Oh, thanks.
Well, okay, because here's one of the big pieces that we talked about yesterday, and we love bringing up patterns that happen in conversation. We were talking about how the messy middle is still something that is mostly unspoken. People just don't talk about it. So I was like, April could come on. Yes, she's kind of like working on some of it, but she's great on the other parts. And this show is highlighting the parts that you're working on, like the speaking, the writing, the podcasting, the interviews. Getting your message out there is new, but your skills certainly are not. You've been doing that since you were a little kid, right? But it is a wonderful opportunity for us to get to know, well, what does it look like in the middle before it feels comfortable? What does it look like to get your first media gig, to be on your first stage? And how does it feel for somebody who isn't naturally comfortable on a stage? I love that.
Yeah.
So I would love to ask you the question I've been asking everybody. It's a little uncomfortable. I know it's going to be slightly uncomfortable for you, but that's okay. We're going to play with it and we're just going to see where it goes.
Okay.
Okay, so here it is. If you could have 3 words, there we go, 3 words that you would love other people to use to describe you, what might those 3 words be? And they're not set in stone. You can pick any ones you want.
I honestly don't know, because I find a lot of people, when they talk about me and I actually hear about them talking about me, it's like, okay, that's positive. So
what would you like them to say?
Yeah, I would like them to say positive words.
Well, yeah. you want me to give you some examples of what other people said, and then you choose your
Yeah,
own words?
yeah.
So
Maybe I'll
some
just
people
copy
said
it.
impactful, inspiring, fun, spontaneous, authentic, heartfelt, mission critical, transformational, necessary, kind, creative, charismatic, compassionate, listener, doer, like all of these different words, which can change tomorrow. It's perfectly fine.
Right. I definitely would like people to say that I am creative.
Yes.
I am helpful because I try to help others who are new in the industry as much as I can, because I had no idea what I was doing. So helpful is definitely one of them. And just overall fun is another one. So
I love that you make that a priority. You're
yeah.
like, I need people to know that I'm fun.
Well, yeah, because a lot of people I find take things too seriously. And it's like, I know it's a business and like we're all professional, but if we're trying not to have fun, it's stressful. Like it just makes it, I don't know. Yeah, like not having fun and trying to be professional all the time is stressful in my opinion. So why?
I,
Why take
I
on that stress?
I also love that you said helpful, because I think that's a very key and important element of entrepreneurship as well, is being helpful and sending the elevator back down, or extending the ladder, or extending your hand to help bring and lift each other up, to help others who are coming up the same way. We may be a couple of steps ahead, but it's always great. And I think that's part of our responsibility and part of our duties as entrepreneurs, is to extend that hand, or to send the elevator back down to help others come up. And if we can offer opinions or thoughts or advice on through our experiences that we've learned, so that others don't have to go through those same struggles, that's part of entrepreneurship, in my opinion. So I love that you shared that. I think it's very, very important.
Yeah, and not just entrepreneurship, but the art community. I find a lot of different artists, especially the ones that are the professionals. They won't share the tools of the trade. They won't share where they get things done, because they're like, well, I don't have to, but I know people who are just starting out, like they don't know where to go. They'll go to somewhere and get crappy service and get just not a good time. And because people won't share, like, no, go to this printer, go to this manufacturer, like it just saves such like the headache and like the money spent on crappy things. Like the amount of money I would have saved if I would have known certain things.
That's that scarcity mindset, though, right? People get into that space who have been in that field, whatever it is, because I've experienced it even in my working career in corporate. I worked for an audiovisual company, and there was a guy that worked there. He was the programmer. So we set up video walls and traveled around North America setting up video walls for corporate shows, concerts, things like that. And we had one programmer who programmed the video walls, and he was so guarded with his knowledge. He kept it so close to the vest. He would not share it with anybody how to do things. And that's I know that part of that is based in fear, because fear for losing his job, fear for someone else coming in and taking over. And I think that's horribly sad. We need to build communities like artists. I mean, community is huge among artists, and we should be sharing our knowledge that we have to help benefit others. That's what we're all. I'm of the belief that there is more than enough work, whatever field you're in. I don't care what it is, to go around for everybody. That scarcity mindset that needs to go. It's horribly sad that people feel that scared about sharing knowledge and keep it that close to the vest.
Yeah.
I love that when you were describing the word helpful, that really what you were describing is mentorship.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you also, but you also said before that you feel like an imposter. So sometimes what needs to happen for all of us, oh my God, not just you, is to have people that know us and are surrounding us to show us these parts of ourselves that maybe we have a story that's different. So your story could be, I feel like an imposter, but yet we see how you're helping and you're mentoring others, and you're like, how can you be an imposter if you're helping others,
Yeah.
if
Right.
you're trying to change an industry.
Yeah.
I am going to share this with you as well as our listeners because they need to hear it too, and I need a nice reminder, is when it comes to imposter syndrome, what we need to remember is most of us are actually mess to message. So we've been through some sort of struggle. There's something that we didn't like, some sort of pain, whatever that looks like. And now the way that we work or the industry that we have chosen is to help solve that pain, solve that problem, solve that struggle. But we have become the person today that we needed back then.
Yeah.
So if we ask that old version of ourselves, if the today version was an imposter, what do you think they would say? Because it's not our opinion right now that matters. It's the old version of us. So if you think that old version of you would be like, oh my God, thank God you're here. You're just what I needed. Or do you think that old version of us would see you and be like, you're not helpful?
Yeah.
No, it's probably the first one, much more than the second one.
Yeah.
So that whole story of we're an imposter, we don't have to know everything. We just need to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of that version that feels stuck. And that's it. That's it. So I have to keep reminding myself, just honor that person. Just honor that person.
We all do. It's important to remind ourselves of that. Like you said, when you started this, it's important to remind ourselves that, it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as we get started, that's all that matters. Just jump in and start. You hear so many people, I'll start when, I'll do it when this happens, when that happens. You'll never get started. You just have to jump in and do it. It's scary. Absolutely. Of course it is. But if you don't start, you're going to stay stuck where you are.
Yeah.
You're not going to grow.
So April, I want to highlight something that you told me when you first started this. And just so everybody knows, April is helping me with my rebrand in between all of my complete chaos right now.
Yes.
And so far it has been an absolute delight because our brand as a solopreneur is a lot about who we are as a person. And April has this wonderful insight of having watched me grow over the years. So she knows who I used to be. She knows who I want to be today. And it's been amazing to kind of see that through colors and fonts and textures and that kind of stuff, which I do, but to do it for yourself, no, just get April to do it. Forte. One of her gifts, her superpowers, since we were talking about that as a pattern too, is that she can sit in front of you and sketch out the things that you're telling her. She doesn't have to take that stuff back to the office, do up some designs, come back to you. No, she'll start it right in front of you and work out that conversation in front of you. And that's, I don't know of anybody other than you who will do that. They'll like verbally say what they're thinking about. They might show you some Google images and edit it a little, but they don't actually sketch right there in front of you. And I loved that part of our conversations.
That's a gift.
Look at her smile. You see how proud she is when
she just
I
lit
say
up.
Yeah. And not a lot of designers will do that. Now, there is definitely some that have the illustration background, and like we're far and few in between. And I do like doing that brainstorm with my clients. And they'll show me images or they'll tell me what they're thinking, and I'll start drawing from that. And not only is it good for me to figure out what you want, but I feel like the client feels they're part of the process. They help create this. I'm not just going back or just through emails, just, figuring out some logo or brand or whatever, just from a couple of words, and be like, hey, I Googled this and this is similar to all the other things that are out there. And then you have all these logos that look identical, or you'll go to the stock images and be like, hey, I want a logo that looks like this. And you get 50 of the same thing, just a little different. But whereas I will sketch things out, it's yours.
Ooh, okay. So I saw a commercial on YouTube a couple weeks ago, and I'm totally going to call out names. So Wix has this logo creator, and my first thought was, oh my God, how many other people are going to have your exact same logo?
Mhm.
And I'm just like, no. When you're starting out, I know that you explained this to me before, and I loved the way that you explained it. When you're starting out, yeah, use stuff like that. You can't necessarily, some people can afford an illustrator or designer and actually do the full branding and marketing package that you can do for us.
Mhm.
But it gets you going so that you can understand your business a bit more. So when you do have the business and have the funds to actually dive into who you are, who your business is in practice, now's the time when you really need to invest in a designer and illustrator like you to help people have conversations like that question that we asked earlier that use those words that you want them to use instead of using their own words. So I love that. It's like the colors, the fonts, the textures, the logo, the business cards, the website, like all of it teaches people how to talk about you before they ever meet you.
Mhm.
How important is that? It's so important.
Yeah.
Well, we are our brand, right?
Yeah,
People don't buy from brands, they buy from people.
exactly.
And that's the key. And you do that, April. You personalize it
Mm.
to that degree that this is who you are. You embody this. I think it's incredible.
So then how would
Yeah.
you describe the work that you do?
Uh, I'm still kind of all over the place. Like
That's okay.
the work that I do, I don't know. Like the logo and branding stuff, it's not just my style, it's the client style. But when I do my own personal work, like illustration or um, some sort of creative thing, I don't know. I just like to do happy things.
That's the fun. Yeah, you did say
Yeah, and
fun.
very, very colorful. Like I love using all of the colors. They're there, might as well use them. Um,
I love that.
I find a lot of my work in design is simple, but to the
Yes.
point. Uh,
Which is what I love.
yeah,
It's like
like
screw the fluff. Just give me what I need to know. Yeah.
yeah, and you can have fun with simple design too. You can be really creative, but when it comes to layouts and like what's that word?
I want to say
like po-
templates.
well, not templates, but
Oh,
like posters, like informative
yes.
pieces. Some people will go all out there and be really artistic and be like, "Oh, that's beautiful work, but I have no idea what it says." And that's
Yes.
good for some things, but when you're trying to put information out there and people need to figure things out,
Mm.
or like this concert is when, I don't know because it's written in a font that I can't read. So you can have creative elements, but for that information, it should be simple and people should be able to read it. And that's another thing that I'm trying to incorporate with my design work is that it's accessible for
Ooh, yeah.
everybody. I try to make sure contrast is good because there's a lot of colorblind people out there, and a lot of designers don't realize that. So
Yes.
I had to criticize somebody the other day. They had pink font on a purple background. I'm like, no, you can't do that. Like nobody's not,
Oh
you can't read that. So I told them like just put white. You don't have to be super like fancy or whatever. You need to be accessible. So they changed it to white and it looks much better.
my God. And since you had mentioned that you like to be helpful and give people tools and stuff, our last conversation, I was telling you about a color contrast checker that I was using, and you were like, oh, I've never heard of that one. It's called Coolors, for those who don't know, coolors.co. So COOLORS.co.
Hmm.
And you can go to their color contrast checker. My phone is broken. My apologies. But you can see the font on the backgrounds. You can
Yeah.
change it to
Oh, there
any
you go.
color you want, and it'll give you a score based on small text and big text.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and I mean, April gave me this sheet or this image just filled with all sorts of tools and resources, and I was like, yeah, we love to share. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I try to
also
make
want to bring.
sure. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, this is about you. I also want to bring up the fact that April is a nerd. Yes.
Yeah.
A fellow
Only
nerd.
because she does a lot of the illustration and artwork for our local convention called HalCon, and has for a while now, and has been on the team. But like HalCon is getting huge. It's becoming kind of like Comic-Con. Did we have like over 15,000 last year?
Last year we had throughout the weekend around 16,000 people.
Yeah. Oh,
we actually sold out. Sunday we still had tickets at the door, but we sold out.
Wow.
So it was our first sold out weekend.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's in the big new convention center that they built a few years ago here in the city.
So this is the Halifax version of Comic-Con. Is that what this is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's HalCon sci-fi fantasy convention.
Okay.
So it started out with just fantasy and sci-fi, and now it's branched out to mostly just pop culture, but we're still focusing on the sci-fi fantasy side of things.
And Disney.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so what do you do for the conference, April?
I'm their graphic designer. So I was on a team for a long time, the design team, and eventually I became manager of that design team, and now I am the director of design.
Wow.
Nice.
Cool. Congratulations.
Yeah. So I think it's at the end of this year, it'll be year 10.
Holy crow.
Nice.
Yeah. I've been doing it for a while.
That is awesome. That's huge. That's a huge feather in your cap.
Yeah, and it's all volunteer work. So I do have a few people under me that help out because like it's volunteer work. I can't do it all the time. But the team is very, very helpful and very creative. And yeah, we make sure everything is on brand and everything is out when it needs to be out.
Excellent.
And we're super grateful because it always looks awesome.
Yeah. And like the last few years, we've been doing that, making sure our brand is accessible for visual impaired people. So, yeah.
Now that accessibility is a huge conversation lately. And I don't just mean in website design, but in all of it. I have a friend of mine who is legally blind, and so she has to like put her phone here and expand it in order to read anything. And she started working with people about people's websites because she's like, I can't see anything, I can't read anything, I can't really do a whole lot. And some of those tools only take you so far. So then she started talking to designers like you, April, to say, these are the things that actually matter to us. Yeah, these parts are great, but these parts need to be improved. These parts don't even exist. Oh, well, that's actually kind of useless, right? To kind of give some real world feedback from people who would use it every single day and not just temporarily. So I'm glad that you bring that up. Is there anything that you notice that we might not even notice when we do our own DIY stuff?
Sometimes I find people who just wouldn't notice. They'll use fonts that look pretty, or they just, I don't know. Sometimes it's just not about being pretty and looking creative. It's like you need to choose a font that is readable, and people just don't know that. There's a lot of great tools out there, and I know there's a font, I forget what the name is, but it's for people who are dyslexic. And
I think it's called dyslexia. Or I think the font is actually called dyslexia.
Okay. Probably. Yes. And
because I think I saw that one. Yeah.
The way the weights are on certain letters.
Now Laura's looking it up.
I am.
Yeah.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Because that's just who you are. Sorry, April.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
fine. But yeah, like it's the weights on certain letters that help people read them.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. So you got to think about like fonts that are easy to read. Just even if they're plain looking, like so what? Like it's text. It doesn't have to be super frilly, I guess.
Yeah.
And same with colors. Like black and white is the best contrast out there, but you know, like don't try to put similar colors on top of similar colors, or like I'll see people put like red on top of green and it just vibrates. And
Or
like
blue, red on
don't
blue.
do that.
Bleh.
Aesthetics and practicality are important, right?
Yeah. Well,
Both.
at least to me.
And you can do that simply.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this complex creation.
No, like you can have creative elements, definitely, especially like if it's an event and it's like a Christmas event and you want to have that pretty thing. So you can do that, but then all of the information should be just a nice, simple text. So
because that's what it's about. It's about relaying the information. Sure, you want it to look nice, but it doesn't have to be elaborate. But the point is to get the information across.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that font is actually called dyslexie. So instead of an A at the end of dyslexia, it's an E. So dyslexie.
I didn't even know there was such a thing. That's
Oh yeah.
wow.
Well,
That is
that's
very
one of
A
those
few
things
years
that I'm.
ago.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I'm mindful of. Usually, when I'm live on a video, I like to wear darker lipstick because I also have family members who can't hear that well, like my mom, who wears hearing aids. And even when she wears her hearing aids, she still has to kind of read your lips to get the gist of what's going on at times. So if I wear the darker lipstick, it gives the higher contrast between my lips and my face. So those
I'll have
who
to try
need,
that.
yeah, you should, Brad. So that those who need the extra visual, it's helpful, right? And my fonts, I love my basic type font to be sans serif, which is basically none of those little ticks, the little like squigglies everywhere. Very simple, very elegant. But then my titles can be whatever, right? It's like you need as many people as possible to understand what you're trying to say. And it doesn't have to be loopy goopy little ticks everywhere. It could just be calm, cool, and collected. Because I also come across design from a mental health perspective. Those little ticks have sharp edges. And for somebody with anxiety, that's what they see. Is they see something that is actually increasing their anxiety instead of lowering it. So I like round, simple letters. Right? I like things that have the same thickness pretty much everywhere instead of thick, thin, thick, thin, thick, thin. And you're like, I don't know what's going on.
Keep it simple. That's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm loving this conversation. We have about 5 minutes left. You never know where it's going to go, right?
There you go.
No, April, we have about 5 minutes left, but I want to make sure that we highlight the types of things that you wanted to make sure that you said. So was there any sort of message that you had for people or something that you wanted to share that we can talk about?
Not really. I don't have any like message. Just, I don't know.
Okay then. So what pisses you off about the work that you see other designers doing? You don't have to say names.
Uh-oh.
Everything. No, I like just talking about all this stuff. I'm like, do I know what I'm talking about? Maybe other designers are going to be like, wow, this girl's full of shit. But like, I don't know, as somebody who was starting out and their own business and they're looking for a designer, like you don't have to go and just pick whatever design, like go and meet the person, like talk to the person first to make sure they're the right fit for you. Like I might not be the right fit for somebody, and or the client that is coming to me and be like, you're not the right fit for me. So it's okay to say no, and it's okay to refer them to somebody else. And these websites that do the cheap design, like maybe that's good for you right now, but definitely save some money to get the professional work done. Like, you don't need it right now starting out, but a few years down the road when you're like going all out, make sure you have the money to hire somebody like me, because lowering our pricing just to get the work is
No.
it's not helpful for me. Like, I got to stop underselling myself and whatnot. But yeah, stash some money
Definitely.
away and hire somebody like me.
Hire April. Okay, then
Yes.
what would be crazy cool to happen for you, April, in the next 12 months or so? Crazy cool. No logical. Crazy
Oh
cool.
God. Somebody give me a bunch of money so I can open up my own little shop would be great.
Like a storefront? An actual storefront?
Like a design shop instead of working at home and sharing the office with the husband.
Yes. Thank you, Leo.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So where do we find you on social media, email, websites, whatever? But what is your favorite way to communicate with people?
Right now, I'm pretty big on Instagram. I've been using Threads, and I find that kind of fun, but I've been so burnt out on social media these days that just emailing me is fine.
Okay. What is your name on Instagram and Threads?
Everything is April M Designs.
Okay.
So as soon as something new comes out, I just put my name out there, even if I don't use it.
April M Designs. I'm going to follow you now while we're here.
That's me.
Okay.
And M stands for my middle name, Michelle. It is not May.
Okay. That's my middle name. And it's been years. I'm like, I don't even remember what the M stands for.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and it's funny because I went into the furniture store downtown where your dad used to work. And I was like, where is your dad? And then I, of course, creeped him on social media. And it was like, oh, he retired last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell him I said hi.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the parents are getting old and retiring.
Dang, right?
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Was there anything that you wanted to say before we go? Like any final comments?
No, I'm still suffering jet lag right now from vacation. So I'm just of like a little out of it still. But no,
you're like half awake doing an interview.
Yeah.
With somebody who loves to pick on you playfully and lovingly.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, then final question. Okay. What is the next color that you're going to dye your hair?
Oh, I'm actually thinking of going back to natural to let it have a break.
What?
Yeah. I have to do it every once in a while. I have to. If not, I just kill it. And then I'll look like Brad.
That would not be a good look, April.
Okay, that's the real right there. Like
yes, that would give your hair a break. This would not be a good look for you. It works for me, but not for you.
Sorry.
It's all good. I love it.
This has been so much fun, and I loved having you. I love trying to invite you into just every part of my world right now because I'm like, yes, she finally said yes to herself. Yay. Right? So I'm just like, any sort of opportunity, I would love to have you on. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for being such an amazing cheerleader.
Go April. Go April. It's not your birthday.
April.
Okay, everybody at home. Go April.
Go April.
Okay.
She's like, okay, I'm a little uncomfortable now. Let's move along.
Yeah. Well, see, I did tell you that some of us are still working on receiving.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Breathe it in. Breathe it in.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, April. I will chat with you later.
Okay.
And I do think about you every time I drive by your parents' house.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, April. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, it's great meeting you too.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, Brad.
Yes.
I am not sure if we have an open spot. I'm just double checking
Okay.
messages.
I'm gonna change so I can have a virtual background. I did this in Firefox. I'm gonna switch to
Ooh.
Chrome so I can put a virtual background up instead of
Oh, you
this.
can't do it in
In
Firefox?
Firefox, no, you have to be in Chrome to do it, unfortunately.
Oh.
I'm gonna see. Do they have options available to choose from, or can I just upload something? Or
I think you can upload. So at the bottom of
okay.
the page, and you get to
Yeah.
learn things too, everybody.
Yes,
Okay,
I
so at the
do.
bottom of the page, there is a button that says settings right beside stop camera. And if
Yep.
you click on that,
Yeah.
then it brings
I'll
up the
have to
settings
jump
page.
out though, Laura, so I
Oh,
can
okay.
open it up in Chrome.
Yeah. And then it's 1, 2, 3, fourth one down says virtual background.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to add it there.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna jump out and jump
I
right
can
back
have
in.
bricks.
Ah, look at that.
But then it looks like my face is even more red.
Oh, I like that background. That's very nice. Very elegant and chic.
Chic. Vogue. Okay, we'll see you in a minute.
All right,
Bud.
I'll be back in a sec.
Whew, interesting day already today. I knew this would be a lot of fun. For those who haven't met Brad before, we did have a lot of fun at the Experts Boot Camp. And I remember meeting him, I want to say in April of this year. He'll have to confirm when he comes back on, where we got along right away. You know how you meet just those people, those random people in random places, and you're like, you're my kind of people. Brad was my kind of people. And as he mentioned, he has a podcast, and he was a guest at the Experts Boot Camp because he has one of the top 5% podcasts. Yay, Brad. And he was like, I need you on my show. I need you on my show. And I'm like, I'm busy. Like, there's so much going on right now, which happens. And if you've been following along the last couple days, I have done 2 moves so far in the last, let's see, April, so May, June, July, 3 months. I've done 2 moves in the last 3 months. And then I have another move at the end of this month and another move at the beginning of October. Life is chaos. So, Brad and everybody else, I'll get to you in September. That's about all I can promise. So let's see. I just want to go over some of those words that we've been hearing from people over the last few days for, what are those 3 words that you would love other people to describe you as? Because just as we were talking with April about your branding and how important your branding is how other people talk about you when you're not there. It's how they perceive you. It's how they react to you. And so how do you want your ideal clients to think about you, to react to you, to show up for you, to buy your stuff or not buy your stuff, right? How do you want to have a relationship with them? That starts by understanding what you want them to think. So let's go over some of those words. I loved so many of these. Some of them you can see patterns, like the word creative. People want to be seen as creative. That's a wonderful way to be seen. Oh, look, Brad has the same background.
Oh, Laura.
Oh my God, are you in the same chair?
I am.
As half of my head is cut off. It's so good.
Love the virtual backgrounds.
I was just talking about how I love how April does branding, and she does design work and illustration for people to help them understand that it is so important for your ideal clients to see you in a certain way before they ever have a conversation with you.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. And that opening question that I love about how would you love other people to describe you? That's really what I'm trying to figure out, is what do you value? What is your intention? How do you want to show up? How do you want people to remember you? What's your legacy? Like, all of it is tied together. And since we may have the next, 40 minutes to ourselves, Brad, we may have to have a conversation about this.
Yeah. Well, I think your brand is your business card, right?
It is. Yeah.
Long gone are the days of handing out the physical business cards, but that is your business card now, is your brand. You are your business. You are the face of that. That's That's how people know who you are. And so, yes, just sharing that message of who you are, how you show up, all of that stuff, that's, you have to nowadays,
Yeah.
because there are no more business cards. I can remember going to networking meetings at my Chamber of Commerce and had the stack of business cards in my back pocket,
Oh,
walking around handing those out. Those days,
yeah.
those days
No,
are
I'm
long
picturing my
gone.
daughter. So when I started my business, she was really young.
Yeah.
And so being at home with my daughter trying to start this business, what else are you supposed to do? There's no after
Yeah,
school care. So
that's
I would
right.
just take her with me. And she
Mhm.
was so young and so cute that she got to the point where she was perfectly fine just wandering a room and talking to everybody. She asked me one day for some of my business cards. Because
Yeah.
by this point, she knew the drill. So she had this little pile of business cards. She's like, "Hi, my name's Sidoni. My mom's over there. Here's her card." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's not quite how you do it, but you're
Not
adorable." And of course, all of them took it because
I
she's
was going to say
adorable.
they must have loved it.
I think she was 4 or 5 at the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes in her Supergirl outfit. Because I love cosplay and I have no qualms about her wanting to wear costumes.
Yeah.
So she'd be there in her little Supergirl outfit.
Which I'm sure won them over right away before
Of
she even
course.
spoke, before any words came out of her
Oh.
mouth.
But now she's 13.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm actually getting her to help me with the graphic design part of my business.
Ah, very
It's
cool.
like, I'm going to teach you skills. And whether
There you
you
go.
use them in your next life or not, or your business or whatever you do, there's still skills that can help you in any choice that you make.
Absolutely. That's important. I love that you're doing that. I think
Yeah.
that we should do that with all of our children from a young age.
Yeah.
Give them these skills, because let's be honest, the education system does not give them skills that they need.
No.
That needs to change.
It really does. I have made it part of my job.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like a stay-at-home mom. The amount of things that I do that is not my business.
I'm sure.
It's like having 3 full-time jobs. At the moment, I have 4 because one of my full-time jobs is making this whole living arrangement happen for the fall. So it's like inspections and paperwork and finances and like meetings.
You've been dealing with this for a while.
Oh.
You must be at the end of your rope with this by now. It's like, let's just get it
There's an
done.
end in sight. There's
There
an
you
end.
go.
We
That's
just
good.
like Friday, I will have more answers, like definitive answers.
Yay!
I can't wait.
I'm sure.
Yesterday, I had mentioned that I had 3 anxiety attacks in one night, and I hadn't had anxiety attacks in years.
That's not good.
And this was 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago or so, where I crashed. Hence, not doing your podcast and not really
Well, that's
working.
okay. We'll get it done. Like you said yesterday, divine timing, right? We'll get it done.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, just Friday. I gotta wait till Friday. Everything's fine. Just Friday.
Friday is the light at the end of the tunnel.
Friday. So I want to take it back to the conversation with April and the branding and the importance of how other people view you as a part of your business, which ties in all those little stories. So that we don't freak out. We can be more calm, have less tension, and really have our businesses flow. Yeah. So I wanted to highlight just some of those words that I spoke really quickly earlier to help April. I loved the word authentic, which came up a lot. Creative came up a lot. Any sort of words around being inspiring or motivating or transformative, like those kinds of words. People want to know that they have an impact on somebody. Yeah. That they matter. They also want to know that they're enough and that other people see the value in them. So there's lots of patterns there.
I'm finding that authentic and authenticity are coming up a lot around when we speak about leadership. People want authentic leaders. People want authenticity in their leaders, that they're, whether it be in the corporate world or wherever, but I'm finding those 2 things are tying in, and I'm hearing those used a lot together lately.
Yeah. There's also a lot of words describing their pain points, but the opposite. Yeah. So somebody who has had a lot of trouble having people listen to them will say that they want to be known as a listener. Somebody who has had a lot of very boring, very structured, very dull experience in business want to be seen as fun, right?
Yeah.
So I love seeing these words and finding the patterns in them, because we all want to be treated as human beings,
Yeah.
right?
And we all just want to be seen and heard.
Exactly.
Really, that's what it comes down to, is being seen and heard and being visible. And that, again, that speaks to the importance of entrepreneurship and being your brand, is being visible, so that people know who you are. People know who your brand is, what you're about, as you mentioned, right?
Yep. So do you want to laugh about something?
Mm-hmm.
So when I first heard that April was doing her business and starting,
Excuse me.
I was
Sorry.
like, yes, perfect timing, because I'm rebranding. And I mean, I have design background as
Yeah.
well. I mean, I didn't go to school for it, but I just kind of got thrown into it.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing it for years. But doing your own branding, it's so hard, because you're like, I like this, and I like this, and I like this, and I like this. The extra funny part is that I have come to the conclusion that I literally want my brand to look like me. So people know me as the redhead.
Yeah.
So I have my titles and my graphics to have this orange thread, since I talk about emotional threads with our stories, which is my hair, to literally be on my photos and graphics.
Interesting. That's
I'm
unique.
also known as green eyes. Redheads don't usually have green eyes. They usually have blue eyes.
Yeah.
And so green is another color. So I'm like, okay, I got the hair, I have the green eyes, and then I have a slightly off-white. This is my tan. You see how dark I am? I've never been this dark.
Crazy.
I know. So I'm like, okay, an off-white. Usually ivory. Like, it's just horrible. You'll never find me on a beach in the sand. And then I'm known as the lady that always wears purple. Purple's my favorite color. So I've got the purple that I'm always wearing. I have the really light, practically white skin, the green eyes, and then the orange. And then, of course, you have to have the black.
Yeah.
Just for contrast, right?
Yes.
But that to me is wrought iron. I love earthy textures, but I also love the contrast of the industrial look to it. So like wood tones and wrought iron, but mix that with greenery and a little bit of modern touches to it. I like simple elegance.
And that's what we talked about, right? Is keeping it simple. It doesn't have to be this big elaborate thing. And but this is great though, Laura, because you know exactly what you want. So you can go to, it takes time. Of course, it takes a lot of time. You have to figure it out and think about it. But that's also where the using a designer comes in. It's like you can give them a couple of elements and say, okay, this is what I envision. Here, the rest is up to you. Take it and run with it. And back and forth with that, right? I have a friend who's a graphic designer as well, and I do the same kind of thing. It's like, okay, I have this overall vision of how I want it to look in terms of colors. You pick the fonts, and she'll play around with it and send it back to me. It's like, yeah, I love that, or no, I don't. And then she goes back to do it. So it's just coming up with those initial elements, I think, which you have clearly done, which means you've absolutely done your work. And I think that's brilliant. And then you just hand the rest off to April. Here you go. This is your lane. This is your area of expertise. I'm going to leave this with you.
Actually, that's where she's different. And that's what I love, is because I'm an external processor. To work with a graphic designer who would just take my ideas and then go to their office, that would never work for me.
Right.
Because as soon as I see it, I'd be like, no, or this needs to change. Like there's always a constant evolution. And until I get feedback in a different form, I can't really process what my thoughts already are. Like there's got to be something else that's coming back. So as she's literally drawing in front of me, I can be like, no, let's change that. And it's changed right away.
That's a pretty cool approach that she has.
I love it. And I had her drawing icosahedrons. So for those who don't know what an icosahedron is, it's a 20-sided 3D form. We're nerds. A D20, a 20-sided dice. Right? So I'm asking her to draw one of these on her sketchbook, and she's like, think what it is this. And we're
Mhm.
kind of working through it ourselves. And then I'm like, wait, I have my dice right beside me. I pull out my dice and put them in front of her.
Oh my God. Here's what it is, April.
Oh, because we were both like, that's not quite how it goes. Because we
Mhm.
wanted to make sure the ratios are right. I
Mhm.
come from an architectural background, so I like precision.
Right.
My art is very precise. It's difficult for me to like play and be
Free flowing.
yeah. I'm a very technical artist and I'm a very creative technician. I'm
Very
right in the
structured.
middle. But that's my lane. That is my
There you go.
superpower is I'm not heavy leaning on either side.
Yeah.
I'm literally right in the middle. So in order for me to do one, I have to blend the other.
Mhm.
I used to work in an architectural office and I took engineering before I took architecture.
Holy crow.
I know. No, I didn't finish either of them because the
I
plan
did
was to
not
do
know this about you. This is very educational, Laura.
Oh yeah. So I took general engineering at St.
Mhm.
FX University, and then I was supposed to go on to Dalhousie to take architecture. Found out that they didn't have drafting, which is the
Mhm.
actual drawing of the
Yeah.
plans in their program. And I was like, how? Like, that's what I thought that you did. And they were like, no. Architects learn the science and the artsy fartsy stuff. And I went,
Uh-huh.
but that's not what I want to do. So then I went
This
to
is
the community
not for me.
college. I took the drafting part, but then I tutored the
Okay.
math for everything in the college. So I tutored
Wow.
the engineering, I tutored the water resources, I tutored, every
Yeah.
math that they had. I also tutored my math teacher
Oh,
at the
what?
college. He was a
What?
contractor. Not my main math
Mhm.
professor teacher, but the second one that I had, I needed to tutor him during lunch. And then for the rest of the week, I tutored my class during lunch.
Oh
So I brought
my.
my own whiteboard markers.
Wow.
Like, I love math. I love physics, always have. I like knowing how the world works and how human
Yeah.
beings work. So every time I ask a question, there's
Mhm.
probably 10 subtleties behind why I ask.
You do ask very interesting questions, I have to say.
I'm also
You and
super curious.
yeah, which
That
is
inner
good.
6-year-old in me is like, ooh, how can we play to get today? Because I
Mhm.
want to know. I'll add another level on top of this. Most people are what I call box thinkers. So
Mhm.
they have a piece of paper, they file it in a file folder. That file folder goes into a box. That box is labeled. That box gets put on a shelf. That shelf has many of the same boxes together. That shelf is a certain part of a warehouse or storage room. I'm what I call a web thinker. So I have
Mhm.
hubs of information,
Yeah.
but every sheet of paper is free flowing
Mm.
because information is never just one thing. It's always connected to a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
It's the web. It's also 3D spatial connecting. So it's not just 2D. It's like, no. It's like super highways between all these nodes so that at any
Yeah.
given point, I can be like, I need information surrounding this. And
Mhm.
my mind goes, okay, and pulls things from all of the different places. And it's just whoosh, right there.
I love it.
And it makes patterns and connecting and collaborations so much easier.
Mhm.
Now, I want to know if that's because I'm half creative, half logical, or if that's specifically just because of how my brain works or a skill that I've developed. When I look in people's eyes, I can see that it is partially a skill, but I
Mhm.
want to know how much of it is a skill and how much of it is personality.
I'd say it's probably 60-40. 60 skill, 40 personality, I think.
Because personality we can shift as well.
Mhm. Yep.
It's much
for sure.
harder, but
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
That's my thought. I think
As you know.
60-40. Yeah. I
So
love it,
then
though. I think it's great. It makes for very interesting conversation.
it
It's never a
does.
dull moment.
No, that I'm just like, how does the whole world work? So interesting. And then I'll
Please
get caught
tell
in the
me.
Google black holes or the rabbit holes.
Mhm.
Okay, how many of you listening have been caught in a Google rabbit hole? I definitely have. Probably
Mhm.
at least once a day. Or
Oh,
more.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
more.
Absolutely. I would say more for you. More than once a
Very
day,
much
definitely.
so. So then, Brad, since we are talking about those words and the patterns and all of the subtleties behind this question that I'd love to ask, if there were 3 words that you would love other people to use to describe you, what might those 3 words be?
Inspirational.
Okay.
Impactful. And thoughtful.
Aww. And why would you choose those?
Inspirational, because that's what I want to do. I want to inspire people. I want people to know what's possible for them. If I can do something. And it's funny, I've had this conversation around this phrase. You hear people say all the time, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I've had
I
this
hate that phrase.
conversation. I've had this conversation with a couple of people, and they say, no, I'm sorry, I disagree with that, because there's lots of different factors that go into it, right? There's timing, there's all these different things. So I've had many people disagree with that.
Yeah.
And so I've rethought, you know what, you're right. That does make sense. There are different factors, timing, where you are in your trajectory of your career or whatever it is you're talking about. All of these things factor in. So I want to inspire people to know what's possible for them.
That's how I like to rephrase it. I mean, I
Yeah.
never say anything to people when they do use that phrase, but when they
Right.
say, I can do it, you can do it too, I automatically switch that phrase to, I can do it, so I know it's possible for you.
Mm-hmm.
Then the question becomes is, what would it take for it to be possible for you?
Yeah. How can we get there? How can we get you there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then instead of me resisting that sentence, I'm like, I can feel good about it.
That's a very mindful tweak, though. And it's a very small tweak in languaging, right? And that's usually what it is. It's like I have to go to work or I get to go to work. It's that small little tweak that changes everything, right? Impactful, because I want to leave an impact on this world. I want to leave this world a better place than it was when I came into it. I want to have impact. I want to reach as many people as possible. Because again, for me, I think that we're all here with a specific purpose. We've all been sent here with our gifts. And so it's about sharing your gifts. And, I believe it's your responsibility as a human being to share that gift with the world, because that gift is not for you. It's for the others in the world.
Yeah.
So impact is very important. I mean, that was part of why I shifted and why I started the podcast. Was I started to feel like my photography business wasn't having enough of an impact, and I wanted to reach more people and impact more people. So therein came the idea to create the platform so that I could reach more people and empower the incredibly inspirational women that I interview every day. And then the last piece, thoughtful. I want people to view me that way, is that I feel that I am a thoughtful person, and I think it's important to think of others before you think of yourself. It's not about you. Again, it goes back to the gifts. Those gifts aren't for you. Our purpose here is to help others. In my belief, we're here on this planet to help and support and lift and cheerlead others. So it's being thoughtful enough to have the mindset to realize that that's why we're here, is to support others. It's not about you. It's so much bigger than you. And that's why.
Let's branch that into, I mean,
here we go.
The show is called, I know, like patterns. Okay. All I need to say is the word patterns, or people like, that's Laura. So the name of the show is to amplify your message.
Yeah.
And so you were just talking about, my mind went blank.
Being thoughtful and sharing and realizing that it's bigger than you. It's not about you.
Bigger than you. Yes. Okay. That was the piece that I wanted to just like pull the little thread
Pull it out.
Little tease. Many of us want to share our story as a way to connect with others.
Yeah.
We use our brand and we use our personality and we use our message to do that. And since we are trying to amplify our message, there needs to be an understanding, just as you said, that it's not about you. Okay, feel that. I know it feels icky when you're not used to hearing it, but your story, your gift, your work is not about you. It used to be. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's the key that I want to highlight here, because
Yeah.
I love to help people to what I call speak from their sparkle.
Mm-hmm.
The issue that I see is a lot of speakers, they're wonderful speakers, they're wonderful storytellers. They learn all that stuff, they get on stage, they have your signature talk, but yet they keep going back to that moment of pain without ever shifting that moment of pain. For them, it's still painful.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been healed. So now it's something that they don't want to look at. It's something that they still want to hide. And so
Yeah.
they want to be visible, but they don't want that to be visible. But that's the piece that other people are in. That's the piece that other people are feeling. That's
Mm-hmm.
the piece that needs to be articulated, because the people who are in it don't know how to articulate it.
Yep.
So
That will
then,
resonate. That's what resonates for the people.
exactly. It's like
You
they
have to.
need a little bit of help to articulate what's
Mm-hmm.
actually happening, because then they have the clarity to know, okay, instead of it being a bajillion things all over the place,
Yeah.
it's this.
Yeah.
Oh, some people, that's all they need.
Mm-hmm.
Love them, send them on their way.
Yeah.
Other people are like, okay, but now what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where you come in as the service provider, as the
Yeah.
person who is supposed to be offering something to them, right?
That's right. That's
But
right.
if you are on that stage and
Mm-hmm.
you don't like to talk about that moment and you want to hide it and you still feel pain from it, you're basically telling the audience that you don't want to look at them, that they cause you pain, that you don't want to be helpful. That clarity hurts. And that's when you need to understand that now your story is no longer about you.
Yeah.
It's about them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going from that place of pain to sparkle, right?
Yeah.
The healing that needs to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
But your skills that you've learned, hopefully that has helped you heal to a certain point where you're 1 or 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Breaking you free of that imposter syndrome story
Mm-hmm.
that you might have.
Yep.
And if you haven't broken free yet, you need the other people around you to help you see that.
Exactly. And that, I think that's an important, I love that you mentioned that, because this again goes back to speaking about the importance of collaboration and community. We cannot, absolutely cannot do this alone. It's impossible. And I think that the conditioning, societal, parental, all of religious, all of these things have been ingrained in us, that you just put your head down, do your work, and that's it. You silo yourself, and that's not the way to approach things. You can't. We need to step into and embrace community and collaboration. It is so important. When you bring other like-minded people in and unite, you can get so much more done together. Our voices are so much louder when we unite and collaborate and come together. And it's also 10 heads are better than one. I mean, sit around and mastermind ideas, right? You talk with other people. They may shed light on a perspective that you never even thought of before, which can help propel you to the next level. There's so many amazing things about collaboration and community. And I don't know about you, but I think that in today's day and age, I think we've lost sight of community and the importance of it. It's not what it used to be when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And we need to get back. I think we're starting to get back to it, because, I mean, we've kind of been forced to do that because of COVID and what we've been through. But I've also found
But
that,
also, thank you.
yeah, but I also find that, things shifted and people started to step into different areas and push themselves out of the comfort zone. But I think since we've come out the other side, a lot of people have gone right back to how things were before. And we need to step back into and embrace that community. It's so important. I mean, it's the foundation, in my opinion, of life and of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So now I'm going to ask all of our viewers, of course, live or on the replay, what would those 3 words be that you would love other people to describe you as? Or if you want, like, take a screenshot of us, tag us in it, and then put your answer. We would love to hear from you, because I do want to see more of those patterns, because I'm so curious about the way that you like to be seen. Because then I get to understand your values. I get to understand the values that drive you through your business. Because as a reminder, your business is not you. It is an expression of you for all those people that are like, my business is my baby. No. No. It is an art piece. Okay. Think of it like an art piece. It's an expression of you in the moment.
I love this
Every
conversation.
day it's going to be a different expression with a different art piece. And so then what ties it all together? We talked about
Laura,
the hair and the thread in my artwork.
uh-huh.
That's the thing. I want to know the thread. What ties it together?
What are your 3 words, Laura? I'd love to
Ooh.
hear. We haven't asked you yet. I want to
No.
hear your 3 words.
I came up with this question because I did it naturally in my bio.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, I'm like, my name is Laura Lake. I like to be described as a playful luminary change maker.
Mm.
In business at the beginning, I used to think that to be in business, you needed to be serious, professional, right? The air quotes, more of those. Professional. What does that even mean? Okay. In my office, I wasn't allowed to show my shoulders.
Right.
Look at them now.
Now look at you.
My shoulders. I know. It's totally
proudly displaying.
Proudly display. Yes. I try not to do the tank tops so much, but sometimes I get stuck with them. I only have a few clothes with me here at Mom's. Whatever. But it got to the point where I was talking about high performance. I was talking about architecture and sustainability in you as a human being. But it all felt so blah. It all felt so heavy because any conversation around mental health can be very heavy.
Yeah.
And what I was noticing were people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't suffer from mental health issues.
Yeah.
And they would not have the conversation, even though both of us knew it was part of their issue.
Mm-hmm.
When things got really hard, I was like, you know what? I need to do some more of my own inner healing. And I had a conversation with my inner 6-year-old. She was feeling abandoned. So I asked her, what do you need? She's like, well, I want some strawberries. I want some chocolate. I want to be able to climb a tree. And I want somebody to talk to. I was like, that's really easy. We can do that right now. So in my mind, I imagined her climbing up in the tree and she's got the strawberries. She's got the chocolate. And I'm at the bottom. And I'm like, you hold this so that I can climb the tree. So I get ready to climb the tree. And she's already sitting on the tree branch with a friend beside her. And I was like, who's this? It's like, oh, that's my imaginary friend. I was like, where did the imaginary friend come from? Like, why is she here and not me? I thought we were hanging out. She's like, this is my highest self. I just like pulled her out of me and put her on the tree branch beside me. Where do you think imaginary friends come from? I'm like, damn, you are smart. That sounds really cool. So from that moment, I got to play with her more. And anytime that I needed support, I imagined my highest self, like pull her out of me, set her beside me, and just pretended like I had a conversation with my highest self.
Very cool.
So cool. And I even, like, on my worst days, I'm a cuddle person. So I just imagined her like from behind, those nice, warm, embracing hugs. I'm like, oh my God, yes. Oh, that's exactly what I needed.
I think it's very interesting that you're speaking about this and the higher self in the tree, because I recently went on a guided shamanic journey and I was in a tree with my higher self. So nice. I find that very interesting that the tree and the higher self, that pattern, I've talked to a couple other people and it's the same kind of thing. They're in this tree and their higher self is there with them on the branch. So it's very, very interesting.
To my inner 6-year-old, the tree basically meant doing something I wasn't supposed to, because we weren't allowed to try and climb the trees when we were younger, because they were little. That's why. I didn't know that back then, but I know now. All she wanted was to climb a tree so that she could feel like she was really tall and really big and see the world from a different view. I was like, oh, so if I go with that feeling of what she wanted to feel by being in the tree, then I understand why it was so important to her. She just wanted to feel like she was bigger than this small little thing on the ground. Yeah. That she could have a bigger view and understand things from a broader perspective than this little narrow view on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, okay. From there, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to be my playful self, which I've
Mhm.
always been. Ask April. When I was younger, when did it stop? And I think the answer was my first PTSD after my bicycle accident. There was some pieces of depression in there.
Mhm.
One of the next Blue Talks that's coming out, the chapter that I wrote in the Ken Honda one,
Mhm. Mhm.
it talks about the 7 times I almost died.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
7.
Oh, that's just the main ones. There's about
Oh,
15
man.
honorable
Oh,
mentions.
we got lots to talk about on the podcast, Laura.
Oh, yeah. But, like, from those kinds of moments, it just reminded me I can't keep being what other people want me to be to make them feel comfortable and safe. Every time I do that, it rips a piece out of me and leaves it with them.
It dims your light.
It dims my light. I have no structure left. I have no boundaries left. Like, there's holes in me everywhere. Who am I? So then
Yeah.
this playfulness is so important because I talk about some really serious things.
Mhm.
People's trauma always comes up when we talk about their stories. All of the crap, like random people in the grocery store tell me their stories all the time. Then they end up crying in my arms, telling me I'm amazing. All by a conversation started with, "Oh, I love your earrings." Well, it took me 2 hours at the grocery store because I spent an hour talking to a random stranger.
The other hour is spent grocery shopping.
The other hour spent grocery shopping. Like, my husband stopped going with me because he would just wait around for me. But, like, this kind of stuff would happen all the time. And so I was like, okay, I need to embrace both sides of me because the lower I go, I need to balance it with the higher that I do go. And so if I'm only allowing my higher self to stay here, where is my median? Much lower.
Yeah.
Than even just being straight-faced, right? Blah, content, normal. Normal.
Yes, normal.
I need that playfulness. So it's like, I'm going to be playful. I'm going to be playful. The luminary part is I have this movie that I play in my head of the people that I help. I imagine this cave and complete darkness. And then I eventually find a way to create my own light with a candle. Then people beside me are gravitated to my light. I get to use my candle to light other people's candles. And now we're hanging out in a group, which creates a bigger light. Then we together can finally see parts of the cave to figure out where to go to get out of the cave. At the same time as other people behind me are lighting more candles and talking to more people. And eventually, like, this community comes together to collaboratively find a way out of this deep, dark cave. That is what I picture when I think of the word luminary. I
I love
want
that
to
vision.
be that starting candle, but I have to do the inner work for that to happen.
Yeah.
And then the change maker is, first off, I'm a redhead. So that explains that. Second, I'm an Aquarius.
Oh, me
So
too.
those that understand that, like, I test limits. I'm a rebel. I ask a lot of questions. I'm like, why are things done the way that they're done? It could be better. So in business, I have to remind myself that I am on the leading edge. I am pushing against stereotypes, against generalities, against the copy paste of a lot of advice that I hear. And that's going to come with pushback.
Yeah.
My job is not to conform. My job is to be a change agent and a change maker and to inspire that change from others, not push it or force it.
Love it.
So then when other experts are telling me, oh yeah, okay, in order to sell your big ticket programs, you need to make sure that they are, what's the word that they use? Proven. They have to be proven. I was like, well, if you're creating new things because old things weren't working, like, I'm trying to create the proof
Through
with
proof, yeah.
this. So
Exactly.
there's never any proof other than myself to get things started.
That's it. Yeah.
So then that's really about it. And then the talk that I did at Harvard, that was the last push that I needed for myself to really step into that. because my talk at Harvard, I call BS on the know, like, and trust factor. One of
Oh,
those copy paste
really?
advices. I do.
Wow.
Because, as we mentioned earlier, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
about other people.
Yeah.
So when we ask people to get to know us, get to like us, and get to trust us, that feels completely opposite to me.
Mm.
And the formula of principles that I've created is called the Courageous Connection Formula. So I call myself a Courageous Connection Coach,
Okay.
which helps us to connect as human beings to each other and understand it's not about me. It's about them.
Mm-hmm.
But the basics is that I need to get to know me, get to
Yeah.
like me, get to trust me in that moment that I don't want to talk about and that I don't want to look at. From there, I get to know my client because they're similar. I get to like my client or proposed client. I get to know, like, and trust them where they are in their darkness. Not
Meeting
their
them where they're
fixed
at.
version, but where they are. Okay.
Mhm.
From there, they get to learn to do that for themselves. Because I am holding that space and not backing down from that. And I'm showing that to them that they can finally have that foundation to learn to do that for themselves. And from that place, they can get to know me, get to like me, and get to trust me.
There
I
we
mean,
go.
there's so much behind all of that, but that's like the gist of it.
Yeah.
But saying that I call BS on the know, like, and trust at Harvard was like, there's no such thing as gravity. That's what it feels like.
But it all starts with self. Everything. We have to do the inner work. We have to work on ourselves first. Self is the foundation for all of it. All of it. And it's scary looking within and seeing what's there and pulling it all out and doing the work, but you have to do it. Otherwise, you're going to stay stuck where you are, and you're not going to be able to be in and of service to others, which is why we're all here.
So what do you think? Like, long-winded version. But to me, like, there's so much depth between everything that I share because there's been a lot of thought and a lot of
Yes, I
pattern
can see
finding
that.
behind it.
You've done the work.
I've done so much work.
And, you know, I think this is the other thing too, is that we have to realize that that work never stops. It's constant because we are constantly changing and evolving as human beings. So you don't ever get to the destination.
No.
It's the journey. It's putting in the work and continuing to do that work.
But it is so inspiring going through the process.
Scary
seeing-
and hard. It's not easy.
Oh, yeah.
It is not easy, but stepping into it and realizing that you've got to do the work is what's
But
important.
doing that work and having these conversations with yourself and with others helps you to really dig down and get clear on your message.
Yep.
Your message for your life, your message for your business, whatever that happens to be. So then once you get clear, you can finally start to find those words and articulate what it is that you're trying to share. Because in that articulation, that and your energy to go with it and the way that you live your life to embody it, not just up here, like your heart, your gut, your whole body. That's what amplifies your message, not the words, the full thing.
Embodiment.
So with that, we do have our next guest in the background. Dimitria, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear us and you're ready. You ready? Awesome. I'm going to bring up our next guest, Dimitria, to the stage. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good to see you again.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Excellent.
Excellent today, this morning. Trying to decide if you all can actually see me okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That one's better.
That's better, yes. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Hump day.
Yes. Middle of the week.
It's all twerking. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, I'm just I'm not happy with this lighting here, but that's okay.
Oh,
You
me
look
neither.
marvelous.
I look like I'm sunburnt.
I look like I'm in the shadows. So
Not as bad as when you shut off the light, though.
No.
yeah. Yeah, it's because it's early here. It's still early, and just trying to, I don't know if that's better. I don't know.
You're good. You're good.
I'm assuming you're on the West Coast then?
I am.
Ah.
And
what is this? Is this the second time or the third time that I have had the pleasure of interviewing you or being on the podcast? Twice? Okay.
This is number two.
Woo! So then let's
Right.
start off with, how have things shifted for you in the last few months?
Oh my goodness. How have things shifted? Where haven't they shifted? Let's start there.
Okay, where haven't they shifted? Yeah.
Well, let's start with, I just celebrated my birthday a couple of weeks ago.
Happy belated.
Birthday.
Thank you. I'm still like on this amazing birthday born day high. That
Good. Everybody put it in the chat. Happy birthday, Dimitria.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know, I've also decided that every single month I'm going to do something special to celebrate me.
Love that.
That is like what I am going for until my next birthday. And
I
then
think we
after
can
that.
all take a page from that. And let me jump in here. I love that you're bringing this up, the celebration thing, because this is something that I talk about quite a bit too, is that we do not, as human beings, take the time to celebrate. We're so busy with that to-do list, checking the things off, on to the next, that we don't take the time to slow down and celebrate our wins. And we have to realize too, and this ties into what we were talking about, Laura, when we celebrate our wins, it's a permission slip for others to stand up and celebrate theirs. It's that ripple effect. So again, it's not about you. Celebrate the wins so that you give permission to others so that they can celebrate too. So I love that you're doing that. I think that is a brilliant idea.
Well, thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. You know, it's something that everyone should be doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. So Demetria, repeat after me. I give you permission to do whatever you want.
To do whatever you want. I give you permission to do whatever you want. Well, within reason, as long as it's legal. Yes. You know, let's set some boundaries here.
Yes. It's got to be legal.
Yeah.
We don't want anyone getting in trouble.
No. Definitely not.
And we don't want anyone getting hurt either.
Absolutely
the whole idea of permission is huge. I can't tell you the amount of people who have said to me after a talk or watching some video or whatever it happens to be, I never even thought that I could just give myself permission.
Wow.
But that's
thought about it either.
Behavior. That's a learn, you know, because when you're growing up, when you're a little toddler, a little baby, you just do whatever. You're exploring, you're experiencing, you're really getting to know the world around you. And then when we start getting those parameters and boundaries, which we do need, right? That's when other things start to come into focus for us, and we stop giving our permission to be those creative selves that we were, right? When we were actually young and little. So it's something that we've learned from the outside forces that have actually stifled who we are. We still need to be able to maintain that creativity within reason and boundaries, but you know, refuse to allow others to constrict and constrain us as we continue to grow and learn about ourselves, about the world, about the environment, about everything. So it's really important that we kind of tap back into that kid, because that's where we were our most pure, our most authentic, our real self, our true self. So
Dimitria, you're dropping truth bombs all over the place. I love this. This is awesome because it's true. We get, as we grow up, all the conditioning plays into this, right? And as we step into adulthood, we're told that, you know, it's not okay to act like a child or think like it. Why not? Why can't we have those moments? That, as you said, that was when we were most free and unrestricted. And even speaking about the art piece, we should have spoke with April about this, because I've had conversations with artists about this as well. And, you know, I've had different artists say, you put adults in a room with canvases and paints, and you'll see half of them sitting there. I don't know what to do. And why do they not know what to do? Because they think it's not okay to express themselves this way or that way. Whereas if you put a bunch of kids in a room with canvases and paints, it's crazy. Like there's paints everywhere and they just do whatever comes. So it's that conditioning that has played into that, where it's like, I can't be creative. I can't think like a kid. I can't act like a kid because I've been conditioned not to as we step into adulthood and all of the things about adulting, the responsibilities, all of these things. No, I think we need to blow that out of the water and realize that it's okay to step back into that childhood like attitude and behavior every once in a while. I'm not saying live there, but it's okay to step back into it every once in a while and just play, just have fun. We've gotten too serious, and we did touch on this with April about being too serious. We need to realize that it's okay to play and to have fun.
Yeah,
because life is short.
It is, and I have this toy. It's actually over there. And it was one of my favorite toys when I was a kid. And I keep it here in my office. It's where it's the red and the blue. It was like a Tupperware toy. You have to put the shapes inside of it.
I always loved those.
And I was just like, I saw it and I was like, I want this toy again. Because it was one of my favorites because it really helps you in terms of, not only learning about shapes and sizes and things like that, but it helps with your spatial awareness. And so I was like, why not have that? Why not? So it just really helps keep me grounded to have something that if I want to use it as a fidget toy, I can, and, one of my favorite books is Harold and the Purple Crayon. And that book, and I got that. I still have the one that my parents got me when I was a kid. So it's has some age on it. We won't say how long, but it does have some centuries, not centuries, but some decades.
No, we're not saying centuries. Come on now.
So, you all should really be like, yes, celebrate. But
you look damn good for centuries.
Right.
Your ears need to be a bit pointier for that.
Yeah. But, that book is what really started me on my writing career. My concept and understanding of creativity and writing, it's so powerful. And I really believe everyone should read that book, Harold and the Purple Crayon, because it talks so much, it gives so much about just resilience and fighting and grit and all of that, because he has to find his way home. And how does he do that? He does it through his own mind, his own creativity. He creates the world around him to get him back home to safety. So just the imagination piece that was created with that book, and it's no wonder that it stayed with me for the test of time here, is because it just has so many deep levels within it that I think everyone should experience.
I love that. So what does creativity mean to you, Dimitria? How do you define that word?
Creativity is really like allowing yourself to work without boundaries, to be unbound, I guess, per se. And so you have that freedom to just explore and to dive into whatever it is that you are looking to explore. So if that's writing, you give yourself permission to write and just flow with it and go with it. If it's music, if it's, all the different arts, we're all creative in our own ways. And so you're giving yourself permission to just be free and explore and to come up with something that isn't, 2 + 2 + 2 = 6.
Structured,
right? And there's structure within the arts and within creativity, and so you can get to 6 multiple ways. 2 + 2 may = 4, but so does 5 - 1.
Yeah.
So and 8 divided by 2, right?
Yeah.
8 divided by 2 is 4. Yeah, something like that.
You're like, what number was I doing again?
Yeah. So there's so many ways to be creative, and that creative shows up in so many different forms. You have people who are technically creative. You have people who are expressively creative.
Yes,
you like that one, right?
We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that was crazy. So it's just so, we have to refrain from limiting ourselves, having those limiting beliefs, and really, again, just celebrate, what it is, that creativity.
I've heard so many people say to me, I don't have a creative bone in my body. I can't draw. It's like they automatically go to the drawing or painting with when you think creativity, it's drawing, painting. And, there are so many different ways, as you said, to be creative. You could be a creative chef. You could be creative with your accounting. You could be creative. So many different ways. Creativity.
Okay, look, criminals are creative.
There you go.
These people out here still in these catalytic converters. Can you take that creativity and use it for good?
There you go.
And just stop and refocus and do something good versus something criminal. But there is creativity in so many different aspects of people's lives. And and that's that mindset where someone told you, well, don't color outside the lines. Well, why not?
Yeah.
I want to go outside the lines. I want to see what that looks like. I want to explore that. I want to be a part of that, So absolutely, we have so many restrictions on ourselves, and we got to get back to opening up ourselves to allow other, that creativity to come in. That restriction is terrible.
So then how do you open yourself up and embody that creativity in the work that you do?
It's self-care, self-awareness, spending time with myself, going on my walks, looking at nature, being in nature, just really wanting to I keep using explore, but explore, that aspect of who I am. There's so much, if you go on a walk outside, you don't have to go running, just go for a walk. And you just, if you go from your home to your garage, or take 20 steps, there's so much to see around you. Everything from what's green, what's standing, what insects or bugs or plants, birds, what are you hearing? What are you seeing? You have to take notice of what's around you. And that's where that self-awareness comes in. And when you become self-aware, that's when your creativity really starts to turn and those juices get flowing. Because you can, I can go outside right now and walk towards my garage, and I can see snails. I can see different plant life. I can see, there's so much out there. I see bird droppings. I mean, come on. There's so much out there that can give you inspiration. And that inspiration can be, you want to come back and draw, you want to come back and you want to write something like a poem, a short story, you want to write a song, you want to get creative in the kitchen, like you were just saying. And so you can take what you've seen from nature and be creative. So just being self-aware is really tapping into, that creativity.
And I'm curious, how do you deal with creative blocks when they come up? Because we as artists, they all come up. I don't care who you are. If you're an artist, you've had to deal with a creative block. So how do you deal with creative blocks when they come up?
I just sit and I do something mindless.
Okay.
And to just release whatever's inside. Because our minds are constantly reeling and turning and doing different things. Sometimes I just gotta just breathe, and just let it go. And I do something completely unrelated and then come back to it, because there are times when, as a creative person, where those blocks exist, and I think I had told you this, Laura, but I wrote my book, Jumpstart Your Storytelling. Non-writers right now, Jumpstart Your Storytelling. And it was about unlocking your block.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so, because so many people have this block about writing because someone told them they were a terrible, bad, horrible writer. From the professor or your high school teacher or your grammar school teacher, whoever it was, someone, your parents, I don't know, but someone told you that you were a horrible, terrible writer. And so you've held on to that for so long. And so with non-writers right now, Jumpstart Your Storytelling, I just take them back to basics.
Yep.
It's like everyone is a writer. You put a noun and a verb together, that's a sentence. And also one word sentences exist, like no, especially if you don't want to do something, you say to someone, no. No is a complete sentence.
You go. That's important.
You have to understand that. And so we have to get back to understanding that we are creative beings, every single one of us. Everyone can write a story. Everyone has something to share. And so when you're talking about unlocking that block, just go and do something different. Go and do something that is not related to what you're trying to do. Go see a movie. Go play with your pet. Go for a walk. Listen to like your favorite band, music, things like that. Just get out of the situation and then come back to it.
Get out of here.
And give yourself permission. Just say, I accept that I am being blocked right now. Thank you. And then move to something else and then come back.
Yeah.
It exists.
So why do you love writing as a part of you sharing your message?
Oh my God. Well, it goes back to, Harold and the Purple Crayon, because writing for me is a way to express myself, right? And I do all forms of writing. I do poetry, I do short stories, I do nonfiction, I do fiction. I wrote a manuscript. I won't say how long ago, but I wrote this manuscript and it's the one piece of work that I have not published. And it's like, I gotta let it go. I gotta get it out there. And it was my first piece. And I think that's probably the reason I still have held on to it. I do need to update it. So I am in the process of editing it because I got to bring it up to today, bring some of the things up to today versus when I originally wrote it. But, I just love writing. And now I'm doing ghost writing.
Nice.
So being able to help people share and tell their stories is what I was born to do outside of my coaching work. I love coaching, and coaching for me is really helping to guide people into their empowered future. And that I do that through my writing also, being able to help others, to see and experience the imagination through someone else's eyes.
Was writing something that was always part of who you were growing up, Dimitria, or
Absolutely.
Is it something fairly new, or?
It's been inside of me forever. I remember when I went to college, and I declared my major as a creative writing major, right? And my mom was so mad at me. Oh my goodness, she was so mad. She was like, you better find a major. And so when you get out of school, you need to be able to support yourself. And, oh my goodness, it was just like, and I've never forgotten that because she was just so adamant about, you need to find a career where you'll be able to support yourself once you get out of school.
Yeah,
absolutely true. And what I did is I picked up a second major and I became a journalism major. And so I kept the creative writing major, but I also I have my degree in journalism and I have a degree in creative writing, And so I was like, I'm going to combine both worlds. And I had a journalism professor who told me that, no, actually, I think it was my creative writing professor. He told me that I wouldn't be able to do both. I had to choose. I had to do one or the other. I was like, why are these people telling me what I can and can't do? Like, what is wrong with you?
I give myself permission.
Yeah, come on. And so now I have been able to combine those because I do a lot of nonfiction writing. And I love doing feature pieces and being able to tell stories. When my first print article ever in the newspaper was a piece that I did on a dean at the University of Colorado. His name was Jacob Van Eck. He was called the boy dean because he was the youngest dean ever at the university. And I had no idea that my journalism professor was going to submit that as a piece to the Boulder Daily Camera. And when I went to go see him in his office, he showed me the newspaper. He had given me the article and I was like, oh my gosh, what? It's like, when did this happen? How did this happen? You know, and that was my first piece, and that's probably one of my favorite pieces I've ever written.
Aw.
Yeah, gosh, you know, Sam was amazing. Sam, if you all don't know who Sam Archibald is, Sam Archibald was one of the first architects of creating the Freedom of Information Act.
Oh.
He was behind that. And so I got to learn how to write as a journalist, what that meant as a researcher, as a journalist, and to learn from someone who has had that depth of an experience and has shaped how we receive information to this day. You don't get that opportunity very often, you know. So I've learned from the best. And so when I'm reading stories now on different platforms, I'm like, what is this? You know, I'm thinking, why? This doesn't make sense. You know, headlines are crazy. It's like, I don't understand this. The grammar is really bad. The spelling is atrocious. I was like, who taught these people to write? Who taught you as a journalist? You know? And so it's a pet peeve of mine. It really is, because I have been taught by some of the best journalists in the business. And so I really appreciate that. And then, you know, being able to learn from some of the top writers that are out there and to just have inspiration from them. And, you know, and so you were asking, when did the writing start? It's always been in me. And I've built my career around writing. And I also have my master's in playwriting. So it's like, so how, it's like, what, it's not who I am. You know, it's something that I do, and it's something that I really enjoy, and I have a passion for it. So, you know, do I do other things? Absolutely. You know, can people make a living out of writing? Yes, they can. Do people struggle? Absolutely. There's a writer's strike in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
You know, and so it is hard to make a living, a career as a writer, but you keep going and you keep pushing and you keep looking for, you know, the next experience. And that's why I'm really excited to, you know, jump into ghostwriting, you know, because I love writing so much and being able to, you know, help others share their story in that capacity. I mean, come on, it's why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
You mentioned that you were a playwright as well. Have you ever been on the stage for one of your plays that you wrote?
Oh my gosh, yes. I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. I actually had to write a monologue, and I had to perform this monologue. And I am not someone who enjoys being in front of the camera. And so I was nervous. I was scared. I was like, what am I going to do? And so she's a director, and she worked with me, and we got through it. And she was saying to me, she goes, I really admired you, Dimitria. She goes, you were doing things that I never did as an actor, because she's an actor director. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, you know, you got up there and you were just in your sports bra and you were going on. And I was like, what? I was like, I was in my sports bra on stage. I was like, are you serious? I was like, I don't remember this. You know, I was like, ooh. It's like, maybe it's a good thing I don't remember that, you know, but I've been on stage. It makes me nervous. I get nervous being in front of an audience in terms of performing. You know, writing has always been my cup of tea, being behind the scenes and really shaping things that way.
So when you had said monologue, the first thing that I think about every single time is from the movie 10 Things I Hate About You back in the 90s. Do you remember when Julia Stiles reads the poem in front of the class and she just starts crying? I'm not sure if you've ever seen the movie.
I know the movie. But I haven't seen the movie.
Okay. It was one of my favorite movies because I was becoming a teenager at the time. So of course it was. But I always remember that scene. And then last year we were doing a clubhouse room with one of our previous guests, Julia Langley, who teaches speakers the same skills as singers, because she's a singer with Cirque du Soleil. And she was asking us to do some sort of reading for this clubhouse room. Like, you can do a monologue, you can sing a song, like whatever it is, just do something. And I was like, oh my God, I need to do that scene. When I looked it up to get the actual poem, I found out that they did that scene in one take. She did not mean to cry. That was a natural reaction. And I went, dang, that is an iconic scene, especially for monologues.
Yeah.
And to have like that kind of emotional reaction, especially a natural one, just like mic drop moment. And I was like, I wonder if I could do it too.
Yes, you can, Laura.
Because I have an acting background. I was like, can I cry on command? Basically, it's what the question was.
When you're in that moment, when you're in that moment, it's like you don't know what's going to happen.
No,
you really don't. And you just allow it to, just be. And I think that's the beauty of, sometimes people just take after take after take after take after take. Kind of like me and my first manuscript, edit after edit after edit. But sometimes you get it right on that first take, and it's like, bam, because then you're not thinking about it as much. You just do it. The other times you're thinking, okay, I need to change this. Oh, wait, I need to move here. I need to go there. I need to do that. Oh, wait, tears need to come. But when you're just in the moment, it just happens. And that's the most authentic response you're going to get.
So then I want to ask you, with your experience with that monologue that you were talking about, do you feel as though like monologues and that kind of talk or speech is really vulnerable because it does ask you to be in that moment so deeply?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, have you think about, I'm going to just talk about Scandal for a second here, and all those brilliant monologues that were in that TV show.
That show was brilliant. Love that show.
Right. I mean, come on, Papa Pope. I mean, he's got to have the best monologues. Like,
badass.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, come on, like monologues, and if they're done right, when you've written them well, and when the actor can really bring to life the words that have been written, on the page, that's when that magic happens, because actors will elevate your writing.
Oh yeah.
If they're good, and writing will elevate acting. The actors. Yep. If they're not so great, because you're giving them some tools, the tools to really create something that's going to go beyond the page, and to really give it life and oomph, and those inflections, those tones. I wrote a piece, and it's a short piece, and it's when it was workshopped multiple times. And it's some people read it very fast in a very staccato kind of way, because literally the sentence is like 2 or 3 words per sentence. I mean, it's really short. And some people just went right through it really fast. And then I had 2 other people who really took the time and thought about each emotion and how they were going to express what was on the page in a way that really hit home for them, and 2 completely different ways to read the piece. And I really appreciated that, because I love the way that the group number 2, group B, read it, when they took the time to think about what was on the page and what was not on the page. Because when you're writing, what's not on the page is just as important as what's on the page.
Oh, I like that.
So when you're just running through lines, you're missing what's happening within the story, and you can, for me, I can really thank playwright Samuel Beckett for that, because I think the man is brilliant. A lot of people, his writing is brilliant. A lot of people aren't big fans of Samuel Beckett, but knowing what's not on the page helps shapes the story of what's on the stage or on the page. Really has helped me with my writing, and David Mamet, in terms of his writing and plays and things like that. I really love, what they've done with the written word. It's beautiful.
Our words have such power. Sorry, Laura, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I just like how every time we talk to somebody, they talk about their favorite way to share their message. And obvious with you, obviously it is writing, but because, again, as Brad and I were talking about right before you came on, you embody that whole process of writing. It's not just about the words on the page for you. As you just said, it's about what's not written. It's about what's happening within you that you're trying to portray through your words. And as Abraham Hicks says, like, words don't teach. Like, not at all. There's so much that goes behind it. And I can tell, not just that this is the second time I get to interview you, but you are a deeper person. And I love finding my deep people. Yes. Because then you do my favorite thing. You put the subtleties in behind your words, behind your pieces, behind, even if you decide to make a message a play versus a poem versus a book, you have consciously made that choice knowing that that would highlight it the best.
Mm-hmm.
That is art. That is creative.
Yeah.
I think it was Monday that we talked about the medium is the message as part of the Canadian Heritage commercials.
Yeah.
It's like, how true is that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that you tend to write certain types of things as poems, certain types of things as books?
I do. And for my poetry, now my poetry is how do I put this? Based on, my poetry is very politically and racially charged.
Oh.
And so I get a lot out of that. And my poetry, it comes, whatever I write, it comes from the heart. It's like I just start writing and I feel it very deeply. And, and some of my poetry is, relationship based too, things like that, and making connections, et cetera, et cetera. But there's so much that I get from, what's happening in the world right now that I like to express myself that way, when it comes to my poetry. And and poetry is different for so many people.
Yeah.
It's writing is subjective. No matter what it is that you're writing, it's subjective, right? It's not objective. And so what you like may be different than what Brad likes, which is different from what I like. And it could be the exact same piece. We're going to see different things. We're going to get different things from that message that's there. And, I've had to learn I don't have to justify what I have written to anyone. It is what it is. And what you get out of it is what you get out of it. It may or may not match up to what I initially wrote, so it's, but yeah, my poetry is something that, I just went back and I've been looking at my poetry and I'm working on that. And, I love Amanda Gorman, the work that she's doing. I was just like, oh, this is great. I was supposed to be Amanda Gorman. I was Amanda Gorman before Amanda Gorman was Amanda Gorman. Let me continue to tell myself that, right?
Yeah.
But it's beautiful that to be able to speak and to have those words, just like, Maya Angelou, and other poets and writers. It's just beautiful. Words are beautiful. And I'm actually working on a card deck that I'm putting together. This is something that I haven't really shared with anyone, but over time, over several years, I've, been dropping those nuggets of wisdom, as Brad likes to say here. And, I've kept them and I've written them down. And so I'm actually putting together a card deck, an inspirational card deck for people. And so that they can really be in alignment with that. And And when it's available, I will definitely let you know, Laura.
Yes.
You heard it here first. Dimitria is putting together a card deck. I love that.
Yes. That's awesome. Well, it's so funny because I thought about the same thing, but instead of inspirational, I want it to be self-awareness questions. Because that's something that I do on the regular. And I'm like, why don't I just make this into a card deck, since we were talking about card decks yesterday? Yeah. And then sell that too.
And that's what it is. It's about the self-awareness. It's about the inspiration. It's about the motivation, because people need those reminders. And you were saying earlier how, when you're blocked, what are some things that you can do? You can always pick up that card deck and you can just flip through them. And you can get that motivation, that inspiration, that self-awareness for the day. And when I wrote 21 Reflections of the Inner Soul, I had a corresponding card deck for that. And, so every reflection in the book had a corresponding card to it. And
I might take that idea. If you don't mind, because I'm writing a book called Courageous Connection, and self-awareness is a part of that. And I'm like, I never thought about having the card deck as a part of the book.
Yeah. Why not?
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dimitria, do you have a process or a routine when you sit down to write? I know that some artists, whether it be writers, painters, there's a process or a ritual before they get. Do you have anything like that you have that you use?
I don't have a ritual. And what happens with me is that a lot of my writing is channeled. Okay. I get a lot of, when it hits me, it hits me.
Yeah.
And I have to be open and let it come out.
Yeah.
And so that's part of my process, is allowing that channeling to actually happen. Versus, I know some people will say, okay, I'll spend 20 minutes in the morning, I'll do X, Y, and Z, and then I'll start my writing, and then I'll, and that process works for them. And everyone's different, If I am sitting somewhere and I'm, and something comes to me, I pick up and I write, and which is different from the whole ghostwriting thing. Got to be a little bit more structured with that. But my own personal writing, it's a lot of it is channeled. And what is it that I'm hearing? What is I feel, and getting that message out on the page. And the other thing that I'm going to be dipping my hand into, because I know some songwriters.
Okay.
Is I'm going to be dipping my hand into some songwriting and
see
where
what
that goes.
Only if it's power vocals. I mean, I can do quiet, but I love the power vocals.
And it's different. It's different because, you can write a poem, but all poetry translates into songs, and that's what I'm learning, is I have to go and really learn more about that quote unquote structure and what that looks like, what it sounds like. And so I'm looking forward to working with a friend of mine and to really, kind of get a piece out there, a song written that has some meat in it.
Push yourself out of your comfort zone here.
It is completely out of my comfort zone.
Have you met Woody Woodrow yet? He's a part of the Blue Talks community, and we've interviewed him before as well.
I haven't met Woody.
He was a guitar player for a rock band, thousands of people in the fans, and now he writes his own music, which is a completely different genre.
Yeah.
So if you're open to it, I would love to connect you two, just to kind of chat it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're both exploring right now, and he does have the background for it. So.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look at that. Connections being made. I love it.
Yeah.
Connect.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. And, so for me, as someone who is a writer, it's been a lifelong passion. It's also part of my calling, is to be to be a writer and to help others in their writing too, and that's why that's why I wrote non-writers right now,
Do you have that with you? Can we see the cover of it? Or we just look it up later?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
And so you can see it there because it's short. It literally is a short piece, like less than 30 pages.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's like 20 pages. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it really is something short. And I don't know if you all did this, but when I was growing up, we did sentence diagramming. And so, you had your noun, your verb, your adverb, your pronouns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to be able to diagram a sentence. And so I talk a little bit about that in there, because you just start adding on. You have your noun, you have your verb. Now you got to start adding to that. You have to have your adjective, your adverbs, and things like that. And that's how you get that creativity flowing, is you start back to basics with that information. And, I also talk about how different people are known for different things. Tony Shalhoub and Monk, and Peter Falk and Columbo, and Tyra Banks has her Smize, and so it's when you're looking at characters, what is it about that character that makes that character stand out? Yeah. What's quote unquote quirky about them? What is something that's unique about that character? And so, we think about those different things too.
I'm loving the cat in the background. Mom,
I was just gonna
say. Yeah, exactly.
It's life. So, Dimitria, I want to make sure that people really get from you what you want them to receive today. So if you could just take a minute and tell our listeners, what is something that you really need them to take away from this conversation?
Okay. I would say, you just have to be authentically you. Just be true to yourself. And when you're expressing yourself, and as that comes out, the beauty will shine. It will be there, and honor yourself as a creative, and celebrate yourself as someone who is a creative, and to really just allow yourself to that freedom to be creative. So that's what it's all about, and to just go for it, just do it. Let me borrow from Nike. That's one of my little mantras. Just do it, and see where it takes you. Sometimes we just got to jump and see where we go. And we're the only way to move forward is if you put one foot in front of the other, or you start crawling to get to that destination. But that's that movement. We have to have forward movement, that progress. So just do it. Just put those words down. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. You just you'll go back to it and look at it and say, okay, this is what I need to do now. But you got to get something down. You got to start. Just start.
I know that one of the practices somebody taught me was just open a book to a page. And if you don't like blank pages, then just put a squiggle on it. And then just write whatever word or letter or sound or doodle or whatever it is that comes out of your mind or out of your head. And just keep your hand moving so that it doesn't matter what comes out. You're still okay with it being on the page. Because for somebody like me, I was told in high school that I will never be a writer. And so there is a lot of resistance about putting anything on the page. And so that kind of practice just allowed me to have permission to put anything I wanted on that page as we bring in all of the topics of today.
Yes.
And just as a follow-up to that, one of my professors had said one of our tasks was to go out. This is why I love nature so much, because he had us go outside. And when I'm working with writers, I tell them to do this process. I have them work on this process. You're going to go outside, you're going to take a few steps, let's say maybe 10 steps, 20 steps, whatever it is. And you're going to stop and you're going to take notice as to what's around you. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you smell? And you're just going to write it down. And then you're going to take another 20 steps and you're going to do the same thing. And you're going to do that over and you're going to do that over and you're going to hear different things as you're walking along, right? You're going to see different things. You're going to smell different things. You're going to feel different things. And so when you're getting in touch with all your senses, you know, and even taste, like what do you taste, right? You can have some taste that's going on there. When you're getting in touch with all those different senses, then you're giving yourself permission to open up that creativity. And you're putting that down on the page. So
that's a great suggestion.
Yeah. I find that reminds me of one of the mindfulness practices, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's basically in the moment grounding. Because it brings you out of the past, ahead of the future, and back into the present moment. But by taking a moment to go through 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can smell, like whatever that is, I feel like I can calm down. I can remove some of that mental clutter. As somebody who has been through numerous mental health issues, that is a huge concern for me, especially when I'm trying to write, because there's 50 different things that I think connect, as we were talking about patterns and how much I love them, that I want to get it all on the page. And then I feel overwhelmed because I can't get it all on the page as quickly as my mind goes.
Right.
So something like that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 practice of just what is around you right now.
Yeah.
I would love to do that practice with people since we do have a couple of minutes. Our guest isn't here yet. But before we do, I just want to make sure that people know where to find you and what your favorite way is to communicate. And then we'll do that.
Gosh. Okay. Where can they find me? You can find me on Amazon.
I can buy you?
All my books are on Amazon.
You know what? For Dimitria's.
So Dimitria Cook. And then if you want to reach out to me, because I also do coaching. So I do coaching and I also do writing. And so you can go to my website, which is dimitriacook.com, www.dimitriacook.com. And it's going to take you to, actually, I have to update it because right now it's all about my coaching. And so I'm going to be incorporating my writing on there also. And so that there's going to be different levels of what I do. And so, but yeah, that's a way to reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram. And my Instagram, I think, is Dimitria L. Cook. You can find me on LinkedIn. Oh, okay. Follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me that way also. Oh, nice. And then my public Facebook page. Okay. I have a public Facebook page. And then I would love to connect with Woody and get him in the Writers Lounge, because I have my social media talk show host where I interview writers of all different genres, and would love to connect with him. And so I can get him in the Writers Lounge with Dimitria. So yeah, those are all
lots of places to connect. Lots of places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a favorite way to communicate? Just that we know you prefer to message this way?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
You can, I mean, if you reach out to me on any of those platforms, it would be fine.
You're hanging out on all of them.
Yeah.
I always ask because I am not an email person. You'll be lucky if I open an email from you. If I'm not expecting it, it's probably not open.
I mean, people, I guess if you're gonna really, the 2 ways to connect with me would be LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are the 2 ways.
Yeah. Awesome. So then let's do a bit of that practice since we do have time. I love when there's extra people. It's all good. If you don't mind, I want to make sure it's okay with you for timing to be here.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. So then let's do that practice that you were talking about. Do you want to bring us through it, or do you want me to?
Oh, I thought you were going to walk us through the 5, 4, 3, 2.
It's all good then. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Everybody watching, again, whether you're live or on the replay, I would love to know in the comments what is going on for you, and we're going to do it here live with you. So you can either close your eyes, keep them open. It doesn't really matter, whatever you're comfortable with. The first thing we're going to do is 5 things that you can see right now. So don't turn your body. Don't turn it. Just whatever you're seeing right in front of you. What are 5 things that you can see? And if you want to put them in the chat, I'm more than happy to look. Otherwise, just say it in your mind or out loud if you're comfortable.
I'm going to write them down because I'm a writer.
Sure. So 5 things that I see is my ring light hanging from a back scratcher, hanging from 2 shirt curtain hooks, hanging from my roof. That's one thing that I can see. Another thing that I can see is the little purple flowers all popping up out of the grass. They're all right outside my window. And I love purple, so of course I noticed.
Yes, of course you did.
Another thing that I see is raindrops on the window. Thankfully, it didn't pour, so we didn't have to hear it this whole time. But I see them. They're there. They're sparkling at me. So that's 3 things. I see my Wonder Woman shaker cup, which reminds me of one of our past guests who actually made these shaker cups. I see this lovely, can't think of the word. It's a touchscreen pen, which works on my touchscreen new laptop, where no other pen does.
Fancy.
Drives me nuts. So that's 5 things that I can see. So 4 things that I can feel. So what are 4 things that you can feel? I can feel that pen with that soft little tip on the end. It has a different texture, so it's kind of nice. I also love the texture of paper, like an actual notebook. I can feel that. Mm-hmm. I can feel the wood grain texture in my desk, even though it's fake, but that's fine. They put it in there, so it's cool. And then I lost count. 1, 2,
that's
3.
3.
Yeah. So then I also like the fabric of these pants that I'm wearing. I wear them way too often. And if I don't wear this, I wear my favorite dress. But same thing. It's just, it feels so comfortable. So I'm just going to feel my pants. Rub. So that's 4. Seeing, and that's feeling, and that's 4. So 3 things that we can hear right now. I can hear a car going down the old highway. I can hear the fan in my computer.
I just wrote that.
What else do I hear? I actually hear the wind through the trees, but just barely. It's so subtle, but it's there. Okay, so that's seeing, that's feeling, that's hearing. Smelling. What are 2 things that you can smell right now? And you might need to move yourself around a little bit to smell something. So I'm going to smell my protein powder hot chocolate that has cinnamon and nutmeg in it. Oh my God, I love cinnamon. And then thankfully, over here, I have some strawberry lip butter from the Body Shop. And strawberries are my favorite. Of course, I can smell that. And then the last thing is probably one of the hardest ones because you don't really taste a whole lot of things at once. So what is one thing that you can taste right now? I still have hints of my toothpaste.
That's what I said.
It's like vanilla now because of the hot chocolate. Vanilla, cinnamon, mint toothpaste.
There's a new toothpaste flavor to develop.
Oh, I hate mint, so I try to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah. That's funny because I was thinking my toothpaste and my mouthwash. I can a hint of that.
I can taste the watermelon I had for breakfast this morning.
Oh,
I had watermelon and blueberries.
Oh, yum.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice?
Yeah, it was there. Yeah.
Oh, it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what do you feel like after this practice? I know I added some laughs in there, but
I love this because it helps you to become aware of your senses, that things that are going on around you that we just take for granted. You know, you have to realize there are people who are not able to see, right? There are people who are not able to hear things. Some people have lost their sense of taste and smell. So these things that we take for granted, we really have to appreciate and cherish and have gratitude for, because it's something that, not everyone has for themselves. Yeah. And so to be able to say that you can see these things and hear these things and touch these things and, and feel and smell and taste, and, it just brings us back to, wow, let me really have gratitude. And when I tell people when they're writing their gratitude list, oh, I'm grateful for my car. Okay, you're grateful for your car, but why are you grateful for your car? You're grateful for your car because it gets you from A to B, that you're able to travel from this distance to that distance and get back, right? You're able to go see a family member, a friend, a partner, whoever it is. You're able to pick up your groceries. That's why you have gratitude for that vehicle.
Go a little deeper, not surface.
Yeah. So you have to dig deep when you have your gratitude in these gratitude lists. And this really gives you a sense of honing into that gratitude. And so thank you, Laura, for bringing this to our attention.
Hi, Kitty. I was going to bring up the gratitude thing too, because when we do this practice, it helps us to identify some of those things that we are grateful for. Mm-hmm. And then just as you said, adding the because, like mm-hmm. I'm grateful for my new touchscreen laptop because it allows me to doodle my little hairlines on images as a part of my branding. But then I also like to add a second part to that about emotions and emotional needs. So then I'm grateful for my laptop because it does this and it helps me to feel freedom of expression. It helps me to feel, it's all good. It helps me to feel like what are those needs that I'm feeling, not just a benefit or a benefit of a benefit.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, absolutely. I want to make sure that each part of me is feeling that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I could go on and talk to the two of you forever.
I know.
This has been amazing.
Push your kitty for me.
It has been. We talked about so much. I love
the creativity aspect, though. I love talking about creativity and art, and it's art. Could you imagine a world without art, whether it be music? Like I've thought about it. Could you imagine a world without music? No.
Oh
way.
God,
it's
don't do that
possible.
To me.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a world without art.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to what you said earlier, Brad, about creativity as a chef. There are some masterpieces that these chefs are putting out there.
Yep.
You look at the food that they've created and you're just like, my goodness, am I supposed to eat this?
Or just stare at it and revel in the beauty of it.
And the beauty of it. And it's just simple and it's creative. And that's the thing. In the simplicity is where all of the dynamics actually happen. Right. And that goes back to what I was saying about what's not on the page is just as important as to what's on the page.
I love that.
So when you look at that, when you have your artists, why did they choose to incorporate the apple? Why did they choose to have, the mom do this or whatever the case is? It's like those are all deliberate, conscious and unconscious choices that the creative artist has made.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things to do with movies right now is when you're used to knowing what the hero's journey is and the dip is, you see all these movies and you're like, I already know where the storyline is going. So then now my favorite thing is to look at these stories and go, oh, do you see what's happening in the background? Oh, did you catch that subtlety? Do you see how those things are connected? And then it brings this whole new layer to everything that I watch or everything that I read. And so it reignites that excitement about the story and not just getting caught in the pattern of everything that keeps happening, which is why I hate chick flicks. I was like, girl meets guy during the summer. They have a fling, whatever. Okay. Not watching them anymore. Done.
But then you have to watch them for other purposes versus,
mindless stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I like action movies.
Yeah,
there you
I
go.
love action movies. And but when you do watch something, you always, I tend to notice something new every time I see something.
Yes.
I don't know if
Pixar movies are great for that.
Yeah,
Which
I was watching, I think it was The Matrix.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know that. You just see different things every time you see that movie. And it's just, yeah. So, or even the Mission Impossible movies. I'm a Mission Impossible person. I love
we took our daughter to the last one. She was like, wait, there are 10 more of these? We have to binge watch them.
Like, my friend said the same thing. She was like, I've never seen any before. I got to go back and watch them. I was like, are you kidding me? You've never seen the Mission Impossible movies?
It's all good.
It is. So yeah, I like I said, I really have enjoyed this and just getting to know you all, and thank you all for allowing me to express myself and share, my insights and what it is that I do and how I, work with others and individuals and what my journey is and where I'm moving forward. And I'll definitely keep you posted as to the next steps and what's going on with me.
And that card deck. I want to know what the card deck is.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So I appreciate you.
Yes.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Dimitria. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Brad.
Keep shining your bright, beautiful light.
Oh, thank you. All right, everyone, have a great rest of their hump day today, and I will see you on the flip side.
See you later, Dimitria. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
I love this.
Awesome. Such a great conversation.
Mom was talking to me this morning on the way back because we go to the Y 3 times a week. Otherwise, she can't really move. My parents are both disabled. And Monday was a holiday, so it was multiple days of her not going. And she's like, we need to go. So we went this morning, and we're trying to rush back. And I made it like 20 minutes before we're supposed to go live.
Beautiful.
And she's like, oh, yeah, so you're going to go work now, right? I was like, you mean play? Like, what? I was like, this isn't work. This is me having fun with cool people.
Yes, it is. It's great having these conversations and just all the topics that come up. But there's some recurring themes in today's conversations, which I love. It's amazing.
There are daily themes, and then sometimes I love to see how the week starts off with a theme, and then by Tuesday, Wednesday, it kind of branches into this evolution of the first theme, but it's slightly different, and then we kind of come back to the beginning theme at the end of the week. I'm like, that's really cool.
Funny the way things work.
Which is why yesterday, Diane and I were having fun. We're like, okay, well, let's just pull cards out of whatever card decks we have. I had a gratitude deck, and she had an angel deck, I think she chose from. And we were like, let's just see what they are and see how we can take the topics of them and kind of breathe life into them in our conversations today. Well, they were about self-acceptance, compassion, and forgiveness. I was like, wow, that was definitely a theme yesterday and all this
big
week.
Ones. Forgiveness is a huge one.
Yeah. So then I want to ask you some potentially uncomfortable questions.
Okay. Can I just take a really quick, I have to go to the little boy's room.
Little boy? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll be right back.
I'm going to just admire our shared space. Yes. The piano in the back. See, now I get to see it. There's a table. I'm going to assume there's pine cones in it. That's how they usually decorate. It's all good. We've had some lovely conversations today and this week. And I'm glad that Dimitria brought up the practice of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The grounding is what we call it in mindfulness, where whether it's in writing, whether it's in going live on StreamYard or even a Facebook Live, even I remember sending my first mass email on MailChimp. There can be a lot of anxiety behind it. And so doing a practice like this will take you out of the future thoughts of, oh my God, what if this doesn't go right? All of the future worry and anxiety. Or all of the memories and the depression and the trying to change things from the past. We can't change the past. We can change our perspective of how we view the past, but we can't physically change it. So doing this practice helps to remind me not to go digging and spiraling of the past, and not to be worrying about the future, but to be in the present moment with myself, with what is actually happening right now. Because then, instead of my mind being everywhere and using resources for everything, like do you remember that game when we were kids where you had this big tray and you put like 50 different things on the tray? And the goal was to look at the tray for 2 minutes, and then the tray was covered back up. And you had to write a list of all of the things on the tray. I used to play that game at every single birthday party. But it's the same kind of feeling. If you are overwhelming yourself with all of these things that you could think about, that you might need to worry about or plan for or be afraid of, then you're not thinking about the one thing that you want to think about. You're scattered. And so I'm lazy. And so with laziness comes a desire for efficiency. Right? So instead of trying to remember the 50 things, I want to remember one. And I want to remember that one thing really well. So by doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it brings us into the focus of what do we need to think about right now? Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but right now. What am I trying to do right now? How can I use all of my energy or a good portion of my energy on that one thing so that that one thing can get done? And then I don't have to think about it every day for the next year or 5 years or 10 years. Who knows?
10 years.
Who knows? It makes it feel better. And then I can show up at a whole new level and be more efficient with it and get it done. It's off my list. Never have to think about it again. Sounds good to me.
Being in the
I don't
present.
remember what I was going to ask you, Brett.
I don't know. You were going to ask me. You said you might have some uncomfortable questions for me.
I remember. Okay, so let's get a little more fun for a moment. I want to know, because you're a podcaster, but then you also did boudoir photos, and you also said that you were in production in your earlier years as a piece too.
Yep.
I want you to think about the message that you have for people today. What is it that just pisses you off about the kinds of conversations in your industry? What makes you angry about it?
I was interviewed on a podcast yesterday, actually, and we were talking about, I was talking with a gentleman about why he started his podcast, and we were talking about the why. Yeah. And he said he started it because it's a podcast about podcasting. And he started it because he saw a top level podcaster, someone who's been in the game for call someone out who is a beginner publicly and shamed him. And that's the kind of stuff that pisses me off, because I think that some people forget where they came from. You started at the beginning. You didn't know everything when you first started.
No.
So why would you call someone out for something that they've done in their journey where they're just beginning? You should be encouraging them. Someone of this level, you should be encouraging people who are at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? That bugs the hell out of me. You know?
So then what would the opposite of that be? You mentioned the word encouraging.
Yeah. Encourage them. Give them advice. Ask them if they need some help. What advice can you give them? What experience have you gained in your journey to where you are today? Can you bestow onto that person to help them in their journey so that they don't have to go through? Again, we've talked about this. There's all these recurring themes today, right?
Oh, yes.
Is what can you share with them so that they don't have to go through some of the struggles that you went through? Make it a little bit easier for them. Don't call them out and embarrass them. By doing that, you could completely destroy someone's aspirations. They may never want to do another podcast again because of what this person said.
Yeah.
Right? You could completely obliterate their confidence, the little that they had
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to remember that you began at the beginning as well. So that pisses me off. Why would you? I can't understand why people would do that to others. That's a horrible, horrible thing to do to someone.
But then let's look at the other end of the stick, which you've already highlighted for us, that that encouraging support, resources, that kind of stuff. How do you use that in the work that you do now?
I'm more than like I'm part of different groups on Facebook, and I've had people ask what's some good equipment I can start with. So I'll go in and I'll give you a few options. Check these out. And I'm always put myself out there to help. I tell people, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to answer any questions to help you. Because again, I realize that I started here. They're at a different point than me. So why wouldn't, again, it goes back to extending the hand or sending the elevator back down. I will help in any possible way that I can. When I'm doing discovery calls with potential guests, once we've had that conversation, and I usually finish up the conversation with whatever, if there's something that you need help or support with, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to help and support in any way that I can. Because again, it goes back to that's why we're here.
So when you had mentioned the word elevator, my mind is funny. It likes to play movies in my head. So when you said the word elevator, I'm like, well, every time the elevator starts to go up, you're leaving all the people down. I'm like, how could we have an elevator to make sure that all of our wheelchair people can actually get in it too, not stairs? I was like, I wonder if there's a way to do an elevator that's constantly going up. And I was like, oh, a spiral escalator. Keeps going up.
Or you could just send it back down. When you get to the top, send it right back down. Make sure you hit that button.
Need to wait.
Well, sometimes we have to wait for things. We don't always get everything we want when we want it. Waiting's good. It builds anticipation.
So the spiral escalator is up there with the double-decker couch. Got it. I just really wanted to have some fun today.
I love it. Fun is, again, there's that theme of fun, having fun. And, we have to have fun too. It's not, you can't be all serious all the time.
Well, as Friday gets closer and I become more anxious, I'm trying to just let that out.
Yes.
With the extra playfulness.
Yes.
Friday,
I love it.
Hoping everything goes well. Hoping
it will. No, not hoping. It will. Shift that little
everything
shift.
Is always working out for me.
There you go.
There you go.
Shift.
When I had a friend of mine over, I had borrowed his D&D book, or Dungeons and Dragons book, for those who don't know, to do a talk for the Entrepreneur Summit about building your business character sheet. I was like, can I borrow your D&D book? He's like, yeah. So he brings it over. We're chatting, and I'm telling him about me being stressed. I had never expected this from him, because he does not seem like the spiritual, personal growth kind of person at all.
Yeah.
He's like, but everything's always working out for me. And I went, what? Where is this coming from you?
Who are you?
Believe that, and I'm the type of person who usually is preaching that and usually believes that, but right now I don't. What? Okay.
There's your message.
That was the message from the universe going, duh.
It's going to work
out. Go back
Laura.
to what you teach people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Everything's always working out for me.
There's the pebble.
Sometimes it's a roundabout way, which is annoying, but everything is always working out for me.
That's it. There you go. There's your message, loud and clear. It doesn't get any clearer than that or any louder than that.
I used to ask the universe to validate me with 4-leaf clovers.
Okay.
Hence me finding so many 4-leaf clovers.
Really?
A lot of validation.
Okay.
But ever since I moved to mom's and things started happening with the rest of my life, the universe was like, you don't need any 4-leaf clovers anymore. And I'm like, but I like them. I want to give them more. Nope. I haven't found one since.
Very interesting.
It's like, oh, okay, whatever. But I would go for morning walks, because morning walks are the time that I get to sing some power vocals. And I do that because it helps to vibrate my vagus nerve. And if you don't know, the vagus nerve is one of the main nerves that goes from your brain down to your gut, and it is the gatekeeper to your stress response. So as somebody who's been through PTSD at least twice, depression multiple times, anxiety, like I'm very mindful now of how to make sure I'm in a good mental health state. Because if I'm trying to talk about other people's mental health, I have to be at a certain point to hold not just mine, but also theirs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, vagus nerve singing. Got it.
There you go.
But it was just this time of day where I could practice the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I could be mindful. I could bring myself back to feeling stable and supported as much as I could that day. Which is something that I really needed. And so now I'm just reminding myself of all of those tools that I have, because as experts, we're not immune to the pain and the struggle of our own expertise. It just means we see it faster. We have the tools to use, and we know how to use them.
There you go.
That's all good.
And so sharing that wisdom with the others who need the elevator.
The spiral escalator.
Spiral escalator, whatever you wish. If it's the elevator, hit that lobby button and send it back down for them.
That's so fun. But that's what I love about Corey and the Blue Talks community. Is Corey was one of those first people where I was sitting front row, center to where the speaker was, not center stage, center to where the speaker is, so you catch them no matter where they are on the stage.
Yeah.
I react in the audience as if we're here having a conversation. So every time Corey was speaking, I was like, oh, yeah, like clap, the facial expressions, the body engagement, all of it. He came up to me afterwards, which is my superpower. And he was like, I loved you being in the audience. Like I couldn't help but just talk to you the whole time. I was like, yeah, I know I did that on purpose, but I didn't tell him that. He knows. Oh, now he knows. He knew a couple years ago when I shared it at the speakers boot camp. But that day, he and I had a conversation afterwards. And he's like, you know what? Like, I see you doing great things. It's like, I'm going to take you under my wing. I'm going to mentor you. And I said, okay. And he was my first speaking mentor, but he was also the first person that truly cared about me and my business. Even in those moments of PTSD, even in those moments of deep depression, it wasn't, hey, buy my stuff. It was, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
I'm doing a networking event this week if you'd like to come. Or just checking in on me. I was like, how rare is that? The amount of times I've had other people, and I can think of this one person, but I'm not going to call them out because they don't need to be called out, where they would message me and tell me about a new promotion that they had. And they're like, oh, we haven't seen you in a while. Here's our new promotion. Oh, we haven't seen you in a while. Here's our new promotion. Oh, you didn't answer your last message? How about 3 hours later? How about the next day? How about the following evening? Tweet, unsubscribe, leave group, all of the above. Like that doesn't show me caring. And I know when we're talking about amplifying our message, and a lot of these conversations are about the human being behind the message, I want to know that the human being cares about me. Yeah. So I want the listeners here in the audience to know that these people who are experts in what they do, and they do have a message, we're also learning about them so that you can feel and see that they care about you. You are their niche. You are reflections of the past versions of themselves. And that's one of the reasons why they do care about you. It's because they understand where you are and they feel for you. Not in the way to just fix you, but because they get it. And we start with empathy. And I want to share the different ways that looks. Whether that's the 3 words that we like to use to describe us or some joke we made up. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important.
How much time we got about 10 minutes left, Brad.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Can you share? I want to learn more about podcasting because some of the people here, they may not be stage people.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. Not everybody's a stage person. Not everybody wants to be a writer. Not everybody wants to do power vocals while singing along the highway. So when it comes to podcasting, I know that we did podcast pitching and people pitched to you at the last Experts Boot Camp. But when it comes to podcasting, what do you feel, or what have you seen makes people the most uncomfortable when it comes to podcasting? And then how can you kind of help us with some of that?
Sharing their story is probably
Really?
the most, a lot of people have a problem with sharing their story.
Okay.
They're not comfortable enough to share their story, or they don't think they have a story to share, I think. And I believe that every single one of us on this planet has a story to share. Yes. And you need to share it. I think, again, this ties into the gift thing that you and I spoke about earlier. It's your duty, it's your responsibility to share your story, because it will undoubtedly impact and resonate for at least one person out there in the world. So don't be afraid to share your story, and know that you do have a story, and it's important for you to share that story because it will help someone.
Yeah. Let's reframe that just a little, because I like the patterns. So we were talking about people being multifaceted, people having different perspectives. And yesterday we really honed in on that conversation about needing other people's perspectives. I have a big tattoo on my back. Oh, I wonder if I can show it. Okay. Not really. Okay. I have like a big rose tattoo on my back. I can't see it without help. I need a mirror or a video or somebody, right? If I was a massage therapist, it didn't matter how good I am at massage therapy, I still can't massage my own back.
That's right.
So we need other people to help us with certain things, to see different perspectives. And this idea of our story giving people permission to share theirs, it's along that same lines. Your story gives people a different perspective around their stories. Your story helps them see themselves and their journey differently.
Yep.
Maybe they didn't know that was a thing. Because here's the other thing. Many times our stories and our area of expertise is something that comes naturally to us.
Yes.
It's an everyday thing. We don't even notice it until somebody else goes, you can do that?
Yeah.
Wait, you can help me with this? Oh, yeah, I do that every day. Never even thought about selling it, right?
Yeah.
It's those kinds of moments that are magical to help us realize, oh, we do have value. Not just in the things that we know, but in who we are.
Yeah.
Which is the other part of what I'm trying to highlight here. It's not just the skills of you being a podcaster or a photographer. You as a human being, Brad, are valuable just in the way that you show up.
Thank you for that. Yeah. I received that. And we talked about receiving.
Yes.
I received that. Thank you. See how we tie it all up in a nice, put it in a box,
yes.
tie it up with a nice little bow to finish things off.
Yeah.
I love it. Very poetic.
Yeah. But then remember, everything that I share with people is what I want to hear in return. Everything I do for people is what I want to have done for me in return. I'm teaching the world how I want to be treated. And so when I show up in the center of where that speaker is on the stage, that is exactly how I want my audience to show up. When I ask curious questions and care about the human beings, that is exactly how I want people to show up for me. When I tell you, I love you, Brad, I'm so excited to be co-hosting with you today, Brad. That is how I want you to show up.
I love you too, Laura. And I am very grateful to be here with you today and share in this opportunity and to speak to all these incredibly beautiful souls and hear about the magic and the light that they're putting out into the world through the work they do. It's beautiful.
So then what was one of the moments that stood out to you today? I'm going to put this one up. Also, thank you earlier, Ellen.
Oh, very
Thank
nice.
you guys for encouraging me to share my story. Yes, Ellen.
That. Yes.
She's a beautiful soul. When I spoke at Harvard last year, I had only met her as a speaker at the Entrepreneur Summit. And then she invited me to stay at her house.
Wow.
Yeah. Because she lives outside the city. And so we commuted in every day. So I got city life during the day and then a nice log cabin in the woods with nature
nice.
At night. I was like,
what a contrast.
And she was like the most wonderful tour guide ever. We went swimming. We went through Rhode Island. Like, thank you, Ellen.
Beautiful. We are so glad to have been of help and of service to help you realize that you have a story to share too.
Yep. We all do. So what was the moment?
I love the creativity talk. I mean, April, we spoke creativity.
Yep.
Dimitria, we spoke creativity. I love talking about art and creativity and that whole process of creating, and the fact that we all have creativity within us. And it's a matter of stepping into it and sharing it with the world. Again, it's back to the gifts, sharing that gift. We are all creative. We all have the ability to be creative. And we need to remember that it's okay to revert back to that childlike behavior sometimes. I love that part of the conversation, talking about reverting back to the childhood behaviors and being a kid. And then I loved our conversation about the higher self.
Oh, yes.
And your vision that you had being that young girl and your higher self up in the tree with the chocolate and the strawberries and giving the permission. I loved it. All of it. It's been an amazing, amazing day of conversation today.
Now my inner 6-year-old lives with my highest self in like a really badass place, the house, but there's a portal through my heart now. I was like, you guys are thinking of some really cool things.
There's a
but
tree
they won't
house
come
there
out
too,
and
no?
visit me anymore.
Oh.
I have to go through the portal of my heart to visit them because they're like, we're not coming down to your level.
You need to come up.
You need to come up. And I'm like,
damn.
Fine. Okay.
What's been your favorite part today?
I really did like that conversation about creativity as well. A friend of mine had a podcast that she called Creative Conflab. And of course, I needed to look up what conflab meant. And it was some sort of like meeting to discuss things. I'm like, that's really cool. But when I was a guest on her podcast, we had that same conversation. What is creativity? What does it mean to you? And really, it came to the point of where problem solving, there isn't a straight line answer for something. And so you have to go out of the box, outside the borders, coloring outside the lines. All of that. Since we were talking about the crayon, that it needed a little bit of flow, a little bit of expression. And just because I love to make sure that we're speaking the same language, one of my favorite websites is dictionary.com. So we're going to leave with a definition of creative from dictionary.com. It says, having the power to bring something new into being as a creature, or to evolve something original from one's own thought or imagination, as a work of art or invention. And I wanted to say that on purpose because we tend to think of art as being creative, but art is also problem solving, which is what people do, especially entrepreneurs and business owners.
Yes.
So that idea of invention, whether that's an inventive concept or idea or physical, tangible thing, we are creating something. Beautiful thing.
What a way to end the day. Just incredible.
Go create something new.
Yes.
Do you have any final comments?
Something beautiful. Just don't let anyone tell you that there's anything you can't do. Whether it be creative, art, whatever it is, you can do anything that you set your mind to. Anything is possible if you want it bad enough and you put in the work. That's it.
Ooh, I'm going to make a reference to yesterday where we were talking about oneness.
Okay.
And my visualization for that was, well, everything's just made out of Lego. So then it's this one big box of Lego. What else are you going to create? Okay. Tear things apart, put things together, make it whatever you want. Build me something out of Lego. And a final laugh before we go. I'm probably going to build myself a Lego set of plants so that I don't kill them in my new office. And they will be on the shelf behind me, looking pretty all the time.
Always, yes. Always and forever. Until you dismantle them and build new ones.
I don't know if I want to dismantle them because then my daughter will make fun of me again. So I was looking through one short story before we I was looking through old photos, and the school had asked her to dress up as her favorite sports person. We didn't really watch sports, but we watched MMA. So at the time, she dressed up as Ronda Rousey because she was top of her game back then. And when the photo came back up on my phone as a memory, I showed my daughter. I'm like, oh, do you remember when you dressed up as Ronda Rousey? And immediately, without skipping a beat, she's like, do you remember when you killed that plant? And I went, oh my God. I was so proud in that moment, just because the quick wit like that to me is a sign of intelligence.
Yes.
And so her
absolutely.
sarcastic humor like that, just, it means so much to me. And
I
she
love
knows
that.
it. Love it so much. Okay. So I want to say thank you, Brad, for being my co-host, for having a really fun time today. It was exactly what I needed.
Beautiful.
And of course,
thank you.
Thank you for all of our guests that came. And I know life happens and I know tech issues happen. So that's fine. We'll go with the flow. And I want to thank our viewers for being here, both live and on the replay, for, of course, your engagement and your questions and your comments. I love you too. Mwah, to all of you. We
Happy
will
hump
see
day.
you again tomorrow at, 10 a.m. Eastern to 1 a.m. or 1 a.m.
1 Wow, that's a long one.
Eastern. I am not going to be up until 2 a.m. my time to do this show. I would need to be paid a lot more to do that. Okay. But I would. I really
I know you would. And you could.
I definitely could. So again, I just want to say same bat channel, same bat time. Much love to everyone. And I can't wait to see you soon. Brad, we should do this again.
We should. I would be happy to. I'd be honored. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is, to speak with you. And thank you to our guests.
Good. We have to dance on the way up. Bye, everyone. And then broadcast. And broadcast.